Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. Do you want to know what it is? Babylon is not just an ancient city in Mesopotamia. Babylon is all around us, even now in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window, when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world which has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth, that you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell, you cannot taste, you cannot touch. A prison for your mind. In the book of Genesis, 4,000 years ago, Abraham was told to come out of Babylon. In the book of the Revelation, the children of Abraham in the end of days are commanded to come out of Babylon. This repeated instruction runs through the entire 5,000-year history of the human race, from the Tower of Babylon even unto this very day. Unfortunately, no one can be told what Babylon is. You must see it for yourself. You take the blue pharmacy, and all your aches and pains disappear. Your symptoms go away, and you can wake up tomorrow believing anything they want you to believe. Or you can follow me and learn what Babylon really is, how to come out of Babylon, and how to get Babylon out of you. After this, there is no turning back. Remember, all I'm offering you is the truth, nothing more. Come, we don't have much time. It is now the end of the 6th day. The sun is set, and this is Shabbat Night Live! Oh, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Torah fans. This is Michael Rood. Welcome to Studio A here in our penthouse view of Charlotte, North Carolina. This is the beginning of the Coming Out of Babylon weekend. It is good to have all of you with us, not only here in the studio that have come from all over the nation to be here, but to have you who are joining us around the world for Shabbat Night Live for this very special weekend that starts tonight and is going to go all the way through the beginning of Yom Teruah, which begins the fall feast of the Lord. So we are so excited to have you here. This is our first night in Studio A just a couple of hours ago. We got everything finally done to where we could greet our guests and have everyone in. And so now we have people that are going to be joining us from around the world tonight. And in the next few weeks, we're going to be in Studio B as well, which is also going to be a video radio set that we're going to be able to do some live radio broadcasts, which will also be broadcast on YouTube video. And so we can get into some things that are maybe a little bit too touchy, maybe a little bit on the edge where we don't want to handle them on Shabbat. But I think a Wednesday night is a perfect time to take a bite out of the world. And so we're going to be doing that. And then Studio C, which we had to take down temporarily. Studio C is the tent of Abraham. And we're going to be doing some things from Studio C here. So this is, we're very excited about this. And I want to thank all of you here, all of you out there, because you are the ones that built this place. You know, we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of help. We were going around the clock here for the last few weeks, but you are the ones that did it. It was just a little over a year and a half ago. It was right after Passover that we put out the word. It was during the 50 days that bring us from the day of Yom HaBikurim, the day of the first fruits, to Shavuot, and I said that I needed to raise $50,000 for that very thing, $50,000, because I needed an editor and I needed some equipment so that we could get on the air. And as I got on the plane after we reached that goal, we did Shabbat in Dallas, and as I got to the airport, a gentleman shouted out at me in the airport, Eric Erickson from Iceland, who was just starting the Gospel Channel, and he said, I want you to do an hour teaching on the Gospel Channel to cover all of Europe. Your time is free of charge. He signed up enough other people and charged them enough. He said, your time is free on our network always. Well, that meant I had to be able to produce these things and to do it from a studio at broadcast quality. And so, okay, the promise was made. 6 months later, we're on the Church Channel, the Dish Network, and DirecTV. And this week, ladies and gentlemen, you are here for a monumental day, because today, as of this very day today, with our broadcast on the Church Channel, for the first time in the history of a Rood Awakening, we actually had enough donations that people giving to actually pay for the broadcast. I mean, you know, so, you know, this is, and thanks to Ted, thanks to Warren, you'll be meeting, who has given us good counsel through the years, because, you know, I've been on television for years, but I never really did it right, you know, because, you know, we were hoping that all we had to do is teach the Bible, and people would excitedly want to get involved and donate to help keep us on the air. And so I never asked for money. People thought we were independently wealthy. No, we were going broke week after week after week till we finally went off the air, and then people were sad that we were gone. Well, this week, for the first time in history, we have paid for our airtime on the very first showing this week. And and this is what I promised you last year. You helped me get on the air, we're going to do it differently. And we're going to ask the people to donate and step up and to help us. And so it's working. People are responding. You're responding out there. And on Shabbat Night Live, you are giving to help us get this message out. See, I was thwarted at every hand for years, because I wanted to put all my teachings up free of charge on the internet to get out to the world. And they said, you know, we'll go broke. We can't do that. You know, they tried to mutiny. Rather than let me put this stuff on. But we put it on. It's been on free of charge. We got how many videos? We got like 275 videos up right at this point. We want to get more up on the internet, and it's because you're standing with us that's allowing us to do that. So here we are in the calendar, the astronomically and agriculturally corrected biblical Hebrew calendar. This is the date that we are looking at right now. It is what we've been counting down to since Shavuot this year. And here we are in the, where are we? Right here. We are on the 6th biblical month. We are at the very end, September 14th, on the pagan calendar at sundown. That's where we are, and that begins the 27th day of the month. And so we've got just a few days. Sunday night, they will be celebrating in Israel and around the world, the Jewish congregations will be celebrating Rosh Hashanah, which means the head of the year. Got a hot news flash. It's not the head of the year. The Rabbinites changed the festival, which is Yom Teruah, the day of trumpeting or the day of shouting, because the day of trumpets is the one day throughout the book of Deuteronomy it tells us to especially remember that day. Of all the feasts, it says especially remember that day. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses hit it over and over and over and over again, and most of the world is still oblivious to it. Nobody's celebrating that day, the day we remember the blowing of trumpets from Mount Sinai. It is not the head of the year. The head of the year is the first sliver of the new moon in the month of the Aviv. But here we are coming up on it. They'll be celebrating it Sunday night. Guess what, Bible fans? Sunday night, nobody on the planet will be able to see the first sliver of the new moon. Absolutely impossible. We're going to have some guests with us tonight that are going to be leaving here right at the end of Shabbat. They are going to be heading to Israel to sight the new moon from the Negev desert under army escort. We are serious. When the scripture tells us to guard the month of the Aviv, when we guard it, then we can count it down and we can find the first day of the seventh month, and this is what we're coming to, ladies and gentlemen. So, on the calendar, we're on our way. We've been counting down. This is the last Sabbath before we begin the fall feast. And when we begin the fall feast, it is the celebration recognizing that when Yeshua came the first time, he fulfilled the spring feast of the Lord, and that's what's detailed in the first four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The fifth Gospel, the book of the Revelation, is the detail of how the Messiah will fulfill the fall feast of the Lord. And if we don't understand the fall feast, we will never understand the book of the Revelation, because it is right down the line, every precise detail. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got back from Israel, and I have something to show you right here in front of your eyes. If it wasn't really so, I couldn't do this. Ladies and gentlemen, right here, look at that volume. This is the chronological Gospels, 40 years of work. And what we're looking to do right now, in just a few weeks, after the Feast of Tabernacles, I'm going to be in South Africa. Right now, we're fighting to be able to publish this in volumes in South Africa for my tour there. And then what we want to do is come back and publish it here in the manuscript form, which will be hard-covered, which will be gold gilt on the outside. This is going to be the master volume, and it's going to cost me more per volume to actually have this bound and stitched and produced than what most people will ever pay for a book in their whole life. That's what it will cost me to do this. But I'm going to be able to do this master volume. This is for students, people that are very serious and really want to understand the Scripture. When you want to understand the gospel, see, I've taken each one of what I've broken down into about 250 individual incidents in the life and ministry of Yeshua. And then I've coordinated every detail from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and what each one of them has to say, and this is like a major screenplay. You get to see all of the detail. And I'll tell you, the footnotes on this, sometimes the footnotes go for pages just to explain one word in one verse. You've been asking for a correct translation. A correct translation you can't get with one word. Sometimes you have to go into an entire culture, the entire background, in order to understand this. Right here it is. And this is what you're going to have in your hands starting Hanukkah. We're looking at going to Dallas for Hanukkah and making it available. So we're going to go travel to the middle of the country at great expense to this ministry so that we're at a central place to where any place in America within 2 days you can be there. 2 days. Driving, it's going to take longer if you have to walk. I just returned from Israel. Judith is still there. We just had some neighbors made Aliyah, moved into the neighborhood. She's there helping them out. And our congratulations to our Messianic friends who have just made Aliyah in the land of Israel. And the gentleman came over, Kenny came over to just visit for an hour. 7:30 at night, we had an hour. 8 hours later, at 3:30 in the morning, he left. I'll tell you, it's excitement in the land of Israel, and I can't wait to take you all there. We're going to be doing a tour again this next spring. There are cheaper tours out there. There is not a better tour on the planet. We get to do things that nobody else ever gets to do. We do things tour guides don't even know about. This is the tour to be on, and so we're going to be opening that up. So we have many things to go through tonight. We have 9 guests to be with us tonight, and so we are not going to take any more time right now because each one of these guests, you are going to love them. They're going to be a part of this weekend. They're going to be a part of your life as we continue to press ahead, because Yeshua said, with all the trouble that's going on in the world right now, I believe that one of the reasons why I was in the Marine Corps, I was in Marine Security Guard Battalion, trained for embassy duty with the U.S. State Department because of what is going on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you this. I spoke this to you before. I told you that in embassy school on duty, working for the State Department. That is where we learned that the ambassador of the United States is the highest ranking official in that country. When the Vice President of the United States goes to visit that country, the highest ranking official of the United States is the ambassador because he is the president. The Vice President is under him. He ranks lower. And that we are told the ambassador will never kiss the Pope's ring. We will never dip the American flag to another nation or another dignitary, and nor will the ambassador ever bow to anyone else. We were taught that because a U.S. Marine would get court-martialed if he bowed to someone from another nation, or if he dipped the flag from someone in another nation, he would be in prison. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that the man that was elected as president did, he made a trip to a foreign land and bowed to Muslim kings. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's going on, why our embassies are being torched, because this man sold this country out. This man is a traitor. He should be put in prison. And I'll tell you, this thing is going to go into a hell firestorm. And I said this years ago when the trade centers came down. I said that judgment was coming to America at the hand of the Muslim moon god worshipers. And we are seeing it as it unfolds right now to this very day. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here for this weekend because we were told to come out of Babylon. This is serious business, and the Almighty has opened up understanding and given us revelation. There are breakthrough revelations that are happening. And it's not people lining up and coming forward and getting nothing but soothing sayings about people's future fortunes in these fortune tellers and soothsayers, which are making their rounds in the prophetic circles in American churchianity. That is fortune telling and soothsaying. There are breakthrough revelations going on, and Yeshua said, when you see these things come down, the wars and the rumors of wars, don't get excited. The end is not yet. The promulgation of the earthquakes, the end is not yet. He said the gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world. That is our job. Hallelujah. And we better get on the stick and do it. That's what we're doing here. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break, and we are going to be back in just a minute. So join us for the rest of the evening, Shabbat Night Live.
Years ago, at the lowest point on planet Earth, the book of Genesis speaks of the fiery destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sin had overcome its people, so God destroyed their evil with fire and brimstone. Sodom, Gomorrah, and its closest neighbors were devoured by the mighty hand of the Creator. Proof of this destruction is disputed, despite clear archaeological evidence and findings. The anger and wrath of the Lord is clearly found there today. The consequence of sin, preserved in the hands of time. Ashes and remains from the cities of the plain. Will you turn your back on truth that is so clearly found?
Consider this fair warning. The day, the millennium of the Lord is at hand.
Prepare for a rude awakening. Journey along the Dead Sea through the land of Canaan with author and historian Michael Rood. Learn the history of this biblical story with in-depth, detailed teachings from the scriptures. Explore the findings and undeniable proof of this righteous judgment of man.
God is the righteous judge, and if you decide to live an ungodly life, your judgment is just as sure as the judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Bring them out of this place. For the Lord hath sent us to destroy it.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Do you have unanswered questions about God? Is there scientific and archaeological evidence for the stories in the Bible? Are you questioning the origin of your faith's traditions, looking for something more? Are you ready for the truth? Then prepare for A Rude Awakening from Israel, Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. on the Church Channel.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, Torah fans. Welcome to Studio A here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Our penthouse view of the Queen City of the Bible Belt, where in fact we are in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and we have had an invasion. This is a messianic invasion of apocalyptic proportions. Tonight, please welcome to the program Dr. Arthur Bailey and Warren Marcus.
Thank you, Michael. Good to be here.
I'll tell you, gentlemen, thank you for being with us. It's our first night in the studio. And as I've been saying, this is like the Disneyland of the Messianic world right here. And people need to make their way on to Charlotte, because it's not only Shabbat Night Live that we've got going on, but the very next morning, Arthur, we've got something going on with you. So
absolutely,
let's tell a little bit about this, because what was it? 4 years ago, 3 years ago, you moved down here and you called me up and said, "I believe the Lord is speaking to me and saying that you're going to be building a studio in Charlotte." And I thought the guy was completely out of his mind. I didn't know what he had been doing, but he'd been praying. That's what he'd been doing.
Absolutely. And, you know, the Father actually began to deal with our heart to get here to Charlotte. Didn't understand why, but we just followed that. And, of course, as we shared with you, but this has become a destination station. This is the place. I mean, this is, if you would, the New Jerusalem in our day of the Messianic Hebrew roots movement, because there's much activity going on Shabbat. We have the House of Israel. We have our morning service. And that, of course, is broadcast around the world. And, of course, we have Warren here. But there's a lot of good things taking place in the city of Charlotte.
So when people come in, right here in our area, now we have several hotels right here. People can fly in, get picked up at the airport, come be at one of the hotels right here for Shabbat Night Live. We're just a few blocks away, then a couple of miles away. The next morning, you start your services at 11 o'clock
a.m. Eastern.
And go for a couple hours, and then you have fellowship and dining. The rest of the day, and just a wonderful fellowship. And so this is part of the treat, what you have to look forward when you come to Charlotte. Shabbat Night Live is a different venue. It's a different kind of thing than what either Warren or Arthur do. Arthur does just a straight teaching for a good couple hours, and then the fellowship after is very intense. It's really great. And then at the end of the evening, this is when it really gets great over at the One New Man congregation at Steel Creek. Warren Marcus. Warren is the director of ministry, vice president of ministry for Sid Roth Ministry International. And Warren and I got to know each other many years ago out at the NRB to begin with. Right. And now this Messianic Jew that came all the way from Madison Avenue doing deodorant commercials for the world is now turning the world upside down with his films, with his work with Sid. I applaud him for what he's doing. And Warren, thanks for coming on. Tell us a little bit about One New Man and where you're coming from.
Well, it's great to be here, of course, and I love the new studio. This is fantastic. This is an answer to prayer, isn't it?
It is.
And what we do basically is one new man. I mean, what God has taken me from is, I got saved as a Jewish believer. I got saved into the kingdom. But I couldn't figure things out. The church looked different than what I was brought up with. And what I brought up with was rabbinical Judaism, and there was nothing there. So I just went from place to place trying to figure it all out, and didn't figure it all out, but until things started clicking. I remember some of the things I used to watch of your shows. You used to bring tapes back. And matter of fact, we had you one time. I had a place called the Renewal and Revival Center in Lynchburg. You wound up coming there, and you brought some of that brimstone. And you say, if I set this on fire, it's going to burn your floor. you know. So, but you started sharing some stuff, and of course that started me on a search. But the key is to understand what it's all about. That really the renewed covenant is built on the foundation of the old covenant, or what the church calls the old covenant. And without it, if you rip that out, the whole house falls down. And so I've been trying to understand it better. I've been trying to share it and share with people and figure it out. I'm on a journey. That's the way I put it with people. I'm not like so cocky about it. I'm on a journey, but I love the journey I'm on because it's so exciting. It's like, you know, it just changes. You got downloads from heaven on this whole thing. And so we do that. We have worship for about an hour or so. We just want to go into the throne room. We could do that by faith as believers in Yeshua. We go into the throne room. We just go get translated out of this. You know, we have our feet on the ground, but our hearts, through the faith in Yeshua, we're in the throne room, and there he is seated at the right hand on the mercy seat. And I'm telling you, it's powerful. And then we also open the floor up for people to share, because, you know, it's like, to me, what's happened in the church today, it's like we have an Old Testament form. We're still waiting for Moses to come down from Mount Sinai to give us the word. You know? Yeah, and really, the body is supposed to come forward. So we open the floor up and let people share. And it's amazing the revelation that people are getting and things. I haven't had one thing weird or odd or anything from the group we had. Yeah. And then I do a teaching, and then we take time to just go after God at the end and just really just press into God. We need a safe place where people could come. There's people that have families that their spouses are agnostic, or their spouses don't believe in God, or they're against what they're even going after. We need a safe place where people could come and just go to God and just pray to God and just get some support that way. And then, of course, we have a little bit of fellowship and eating and stuff like that too, noshing, as we say. But that's the key. And so the thing is exciting, like you're saying. Sid Roth came here. His Messianic ministry is right down the street. We're all in this area. The same area here. There's something happening. We all got drawn here separately by God, but it's something that God's doing beyond us.
That's right. And there's not one of us that's not clear on understanding that following the Messiah, we are not following the Takanot and the Maasim of the Pharisees. That's right. We're very clear on that. We understand, because of the revelation that has come forward in the last several years, that we need to understand that Yeshua is not just the Messiah. He is the prophet of whom Moses spoke. Right. And we need to start listening to him as if he is the prophet and obeying him, because he said he would come in and dwell in us, and we would change the world. We would do greater works than he does. And this is what he said. And so we're going to take him at his word and just keep on pressing in, because until we do it, until we really believe and walk out in faith, we will not see the miracles. But we have all seen the miracles. We have seen the hand of the Almighty, and so this is not dead, stayed, just attempting to keep the commandments and get all anal retentive about, measuring each other's seat and everything else. No, it's really walking with the Messiah. And, the Torah is like the foundation. It's easy. It's not difficult. What's difficult is learning to walk by the Spirit when we're living in the middle of Babylon.
And that makes the difference, because the Word is alive. It's not a dead book. We live by a living book with a living Messiah, and we, the children of the Almighty, are to demonstrate and to walk in the power that the Holy Spirit has released unto us, who are authorized, according to the Word, to do the works of the Spirit.
Right. We're authorized because we're actually obedient.
Absolutely.
We are doing what the Word says, and if you don't do what the Word says, then what happens? You think you're getting revelation, but no, you are getting your own soul into it, and sometimes even demonic spirits, because if you don't obey, then you don't deserve to walk by the Spirit. You are not even in the ballpark. And that's why we see, so much of this stuff that's going on in charismania that's just gone wacky. but we are the ones who can walk by the Spirit, and the breakthrough revelations is what happens in our lives. And that's why we're together this weekend. We're on one thing this weekend. It's coming out of Babylon. It's delivering ourselves in our body, soul, and spirit from this world, and this is the place to do it. So ladies and gentlemen, join us in Charlotte, North Carolina, Shabbat Night Live, then the House of Israel on Shabbat in the morning, and then One New Man Ministries with Warren Marcus that evening. Song, dance, praise, and worship entering in, and it's going to be a incredible, life-changing experience. So, gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll be right back after a word for our sponsors. You!
This month, for your gift of $40 or more sown into the good ground of Rood Awakening International, Michael and Judith Rood would like for you to receive this replica of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. Handcrafted in the land of Israel, this beautiful reproduction of the Holy Temple will remind you daily of our Holy Father and comes complete with a card that describes each area of the temple. This statuary will be a wonderful complement to your home or office. Or for your gift of $120 or more, Michael and Judith would like for you to receive the Fall Feast Collection. This collection includes the 4-DVD teaching series, Prophecies in the Fall Feast of the Lord.
This Redeemer was prophesied in every detail of the Feast of the Lord that the nation of Israel was commanded to observe forever. These feasts are the prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come, of which the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, speaks.
6.5 hours of teaching that reveals the beauty of the feast and clearly details their past and future fulfillment. This teaching series, 13-episode format, makes it perfect to use as a home or congregational study.
Today, we are in the time period between the fulfillment of the Spring Feast of the Lord and the fulfillment of the Fall Feast. This is the time period set aside for the Gentiles to come into the kingdom through the obedience of the Messiah.
Also included in this collection is Batya Wooten's life-changing book, Israel's Feasts and Their Fullness. Acclaimed as the best feast book ever, Batya explains why believers now feel led to celebrate the feasts and how their celebrations relate to today. This inspiring book explains how to have Shabbat, Havdalah, and New Moon celebrations, the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, and the prophetic significance of twin silver trumpets and the shofar, the issue of Christmas and the timing of Yeshua's birth, the Feast of Tabernacles and the 8th day, and so much more. Also, you will enjoy Paul Wilbur's musical CD, The Lion of Judah, passionate live worship from Jerusalem. Come to the Feast of the Lord as Paul Wilbur beckons believers to join the celebration on Mount Zion as they worship the one who pours out his Spirit. From the jubilant sounds of Come Let's Go Up to the Mountain,
Come, let's go up to the mountain. Come, let's go up to the Lord. Come, let's go up to the mountain. He will teach us his way.
to songs of intimate worship like Show Me Your Face,
Show me your face.
and Dance With Me. Lion of Judah is an extraordinary experience of powerful messianic worship that can be enjoyed in your car or in your home. And if you call today with your gift of $120 or more, Mike will also include the replica of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem to complete this unparalleled offer. Never before has this kind of collection been offered to completely celebrate the fall feast and their significance to you. Call the number on your screen or visit our website, www.aroodawakening.tv, to receive the Holy Temple of Jerusalem or the entire Fall Feast collection. Supplies are limited. Don't miss this opportunity to learn how our Heavenly Father intended the Fall Feast to be celebrated.
Do you have unanswered questions about God? Is there scientific and archaeological evidence for the stories in the Bible? Are you questioning the origin of your faith's traditions, looking for something more? Are you ready for the truth? Then prepare for A Rood Awakening from Israel, Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. on the Dish Network. channel 258.
Welcome back to Shabbat Night Live, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are in Studio A finally. And thank you for standing with us, because you are the ones that built the set. You're the ones that got us ready to be able to do this, to be able to present the word around the world, to be on the gospel channel that covers all of Europe. And when I was over in Israel just a short time ago, in the Old City, met several people that have been watching us. Lives changed. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who is now just came on as the general manager of Christ Church. The Christ Church guest house and the entire place there. He's the general manager. As I walked in to check in just before getting on the plane, he shouted out at me and said, "I'm a fan. I've been watching your program for years." We connected, and all day long I'm meeting people that have been watching the program. Their lives have been changed. They're there in Jerusalem. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having an impact on the world of teaching the truth, and that's the important part. And part of what we've been doing this very time, as I say, that we had a breakthrough, we hit a milestone to where we're actually being able to pay for our airtime, is that our offer this month has been the beautiful the image of the temple, which is silver and gold, that looks like it's real silver and gold. If it were, it would probably be $10,000, $20,000. It's not, but it looks like it. It is absolutely gorgeous, and that's for a gift of $40 or more. Then we send that out. Or if it's if they want the $120 package, it's the Fall Feast of the Lord, the entire 6-hour series on the Fall Feast of the Lord. We have Bacha Wooten's book on Israel, Feast and Their Fulfillment, and also Paul Wilbur's The Line of Judah, that CD. And that's what we're making available. And so please donate. Please give, and this is our way of reaching out and thanking you for staying with us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited about this coming out of Babylon weekend because these are some of the people you're going to meet that saved my life, that brought me back from with the VA spending $100,000 basically in testing and all that. They could do nothing more for me than to give me pain medication to kill the pain, but these are the people that saved my life and started putting me on the right track. And so these are the people that I want you to be very intimately familiar with. Ladies and gentlemen, the health watchman, Paul Nison, and from Hallelujah Acres, Scott Laird. Gentlemen, welcome to Shabbat Night Live. I'm going to start with Paul tonight, the health watchman. You're known around the world. You also have Torah Life Ministries, where you're teaching the Torah and in its relationship, especially to health, because you came from a desperate place yourself to finally recover and now lead other people. Tell us a little bit about where we're going to go this weekend, Paul.
Well, basically, I'm known as the health watchman, and the Bible says watchmen are supposed to warn people when something is about to happen that they don't know about. And if we don't tell them, their blood is on our hands. But if we do tell them, then, hey, that's up to them. But I don't stop there. I'm going to go and teach everyone exactly what to do, also how to deal with what's about to happen. And also, not only am I teaching this weekend about the true scriptures, what they really say about health, because many people misunderstand things. For example, I don't care how many times you pray over something that's not healthy, it's not going to make it healthy. People don't understand these things. They look at these scriptures.
It's sanctified by the word of God in prayer. You got to find out what's sanctified by the word first.
Exactly. If it's an abomination, it was never meant to be in our bodies. But these people got it backwards. They think, oh, it's not what comes into our body, it's what goes out. No, that's not what the scriptures say.
And this weekend, we're going to be defining food, because what's in our grocery stores is not food. It's killing us. It's destroying an entire nation. Well, my generation is the first generation to die before their parents. My mother takes care of me when I'm sick. She's 78 years old. She's healthier than I am because of Babylon. So, Paul, we're going to... one of the things you're going to be doing is you're going to be preparing the raw food meals for the next 2 days.
The next 3 days, I'm going to be making...
The next 3 days, that's right.
The raw food meals, and I am telling you, if it is just you want to talk about energy. I mean, this food's going to give you energy, and everyone wants to lose weight, right? I mean, this food's going to make you lose weight because it's healthy food, the way we were designed to eat, the foods we were designed to eat. And at the worst case, if somebody doesn't like it, they're not going to eat it, so they're going to lose weight. So either way, they're losing weight.
There you go. Hey, Scott is with us from Hallelujah Acres. We've been reading Scott's work. He is the editor of the magazine, the website work. When people come up to Hallelujah Acres for the weekends, for the trainings, Scott is the one that leads them through. He's well on his way for his ND, naturopathic doctor, in just a few months from now. Scott, it's good to have you with us for the weekend.
It's good to be here. I'm excited about this. To get all of these different talents on one place is really awesome because you're going to see all kinds of different facets of health, and everybody's going to have a similar message, and you're going to walk away saying, you know what, it wasn't just one guy saying this. This makes a lot of sense.
And you really, with your relationship through the years with Hallelujah Acres, you've seen a lot of fads come and go, and what you're going to be presenting is really a lifestyle.
It is, and to be very practical, what I've done is I actually took the camera, and you'll see on the PowerPoint that I actually show you what I did one morning to show how our family does it. And it's really quite that simple. And you'll see that it's not that hard to do. And people think, oh, raw foods, and it's all complicated. I need all these different gadgets and all that. It's actually very, very simple, as you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, to get prepared for this one, let's see, it's been over 4 weeks. I had one meal. As a matter of fact, that wasn't even cooked. But I've been just doing fruit. It's been raw for well over a month and nothing. I've had an espresso. I had one espresso a week for the last 4 weeks, okay? But what I have here is not even that. This is, we're going to learn what is better for you and tastes better once you kick the addictions. Because we are addicted to Babylon, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to learn how to kick the addictions, and we are going to come out on top. So, gentlemen, thanks for being with us. I'm excited about having you here with us, and it's going to be a great time. We're going to be taking a short break, and we'll be back in just a minute, so don't go away.
Information that will change your approach, why wouldn't you want it? Only if there's an agenda behind your decision.
One day I'm looking through these manuscripts and I'm looking at every single detail, and I come across this. This is in the book of Ezekiel, and the missing vowel, the one the scribes took out and didn't want us to pronounce, there it was. The God of creation is bigger than the boxes that we've created for him.
And there's some of you here today that in your gut, you feel in your gut that he is calling back to his name.
This is a sign of great things that are happening, that people around the world are being stirred. Something in their heart is drawing them into the covenant, into the God of Israel.
There is nothing we could do more important than embrace him in everything he has revealed
to us. Now, this is a biblical prophecy that I think I'm increasingly seeing around the world being fulfilled. I'm seeing people like the Methodist pastor and the football player and people who I would never think have any portion with the house of Jacob, with my people. They're coming and they're telling me they love the Torah. That,
And God needs a remnant of people that when it is time for us, can I say this? When it is time for us to stand up and be the people of God, we're willing to stand in the name of the one who can whoop Goliath. And if it takes sword, if it takes fire, if it takes conflict, if it takes problems, we are coming to set somebody free.
¿Tiene usted preguntas sin respuestas acerca de Dios? ¿Existe evidencia científica y arqueológica sobre las historias de la Biblia? ¿Está usted cuestionándose el origen de las tradiciones de su fe? ¿Está usted listo para la verdad? Entonces prepárese para un rudo despertar desde Israel por TVN Enlace.
Welcome back to Shabbat Night Live, Torah fans. It is good to have you here. This is the beginning of our Coming Out of Babylon weekend, and we've got more guests for you to meet tonight. The next couple that is with us, they have been supporters of the Rood Awakening Project in Israel for a number of years, and it has always been an exciting adventure to go down and to be part of their clinic down in Florida, the New Life Naturally .com, and it's a New Life clinic that they have down there, and the Wellness Center. As I went in there, entire families. The place is absolutely crowded with entire families going in there because they are teaching people how to live a healthy lifestyle, and in entire families. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program Doctors Jeff and Andrea Hazim. Good to have you. Good to have you with us here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have been together in ministry for a number of years, and you've sponsored some of our seminars that we've done down in Florida through the years. And now you're launching off on some new things with Chaim Goldman, who's going to be on the program a little bit later. But tell us a little bit. First of all, Jeff, Andrea, I know you've got something I've been waiting 6 years to see. I've been waiting 6 years to see this.
Paul Nison did not make that.
Paul Nison did not make this. And this weekend, tomorrow, actually, we're going to be able to see what's under here, right?
The unveiling, yes.
The unveiling.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this is? Because, I mean, I'm not the only one that's been waiting over 6 years for this.
Well,
what do we have?
I can't give it away right now. It's a surprise for tomorrow. But I brought it here as a teaser because we are going to reveal what's underneath here, and it's just going to be a part of our teaching, a perfect object lesson to see how when you come out of Babylon, you're going to realize what you thought was food isn't really food. So that's kind of what's underneath there.
Something we thought was food,
what you
something
thought was
that
food
maybe even make
really
children
food.
happy.
Yes, that's right.
But yet it's they're not happy when they go to the McDonald house for chemotherapy.
Right. Well, we are so excited to be here, and our objective really is to equip people, to inspire people with relevant truth according to the Bible, what the Bible teaches on health, so people can change their lives. And really, we want to evoke a change. And what do you need in this day and age to find out the truth? Sometimes you need, I love my little props, you need a magnifying glass. And I never go to the store without this, because the little fine print, right? Have you ever been to the store and you can't even read what's in there, and then you have to take out the granny glasses? Sometimes I wear two, I feel like my dad. And then I'm like looking at the ingredients. So you're gonna learn how to be a label detective. My children are label detectives. They know mom's not buying it unless we're reading the label. So we have a lot of fun, exciting things that we're going to be revealing and teaching to evoke a change, inspire. Right,
I'm very excited
Yes.
because, see, you know, we really need pioneers, people that have been doing this, and you and Jeff have been doing this your whole life. As a matter of fact, you met, you know, in school and in a seminar because you're both interested in, in healthy living, and so here you are, having helped so many thousands and tens of thousands of people, and now with Biblical Health TV, that we're going to find out a little bit more with Chaim Goldman, now they're able to reach out around the world. And so you can go to biblicalhealth.tv/Rood, and we're actually going to be broadcasting on Biblical Health TV during this weekend. Jeff?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've been in practice 22 years as a chiropractor. And what I've noticed over those years is, and as a believer almost as long, is that people in the church, people that identify with Messiah, they have the same bad habits as people in the world. And I could never figure, I say, you're born again, you're supposed to be living in the truth, and yet when it comes to certain things in life, they're making the same bad mistakes. So I've created lots of teachings on that to help believers come out of this lie and what we call Babylon. They're living stuck in the world systems. So I want to expose what those are. Some of them you probably already recognize. Some of them will be shocking to you. But really expose the entire system that we've become victims of. And just because this studio reminds me so much of David Letterman. Who thinks that? You know, do you know David Letterman has the top 10, but we don't have time for the top 10. So I have the top 3.
A little Letterman shtick.
The top 3 mistakes that believers are making. Number 3, they believe you can kosher pigs and bats. And throw that thing away. And number 2, they wrongly interpret being made white as snow as God's advice to eat white sugar and white flour. And you're supposed to make a sound like a crashing sound. And number 1, they go from the prayer line to the donut line. That was a good one.
All right.
So anyway, we're going to learn a lot of great things this week.
We're going to change people's habits for life. And you have 3 very strong and healthy young men that you have been raising in this lifestyle and teaching them the same as I did with my daughters. By the time they're in first grade, they have got a command of the English language to where if they cannot read those names, we don't buy it. The ingredients. If you can't read it by first grade, you don't buy it.
Right.
Most, you know, if it's got ingredients, it's bad for you.
Exactly, so, especially if you can't pronounce them.
I mean, like bread has maybe 4 ingredients: water, flour, that's important, oil, salt. But then when there's 20 ingredients, what are those other things? You should have the food you're eating in the food you're eating.
Well, tonight we're going to find out, because we're going to start our journey out of Babylon. We're going to look at the conspiracy. We're going to see what's going on out there, because it's not an accident that America went from the healthiest nation on the planet 100 years ago to where it is now the sickest nation on the planet.
Right.
We don't have health care. We have sick care. There's money being made off people dying, and we're going to stop it. So, Jeff, Andrea, thanks for being with us. We are going to have a great time all weekend. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back in just a moment with Chaim Goldman, who is the producer of our Rood Awakening television programs from Israel and Biblical Health TV. We'll be back in just a minute.
Tradition, the handing down of beliefs and customs from one generation to another. For thousands of years, Ancient stories and traditions handed down by our ancestors have polluted all forms of current religion. Have these beliefs blinded us from the truth?
Jesus really born in December Easter?
Jesus rise from the tomb?
Truth, the property of being in accord with fact or reality. Many are misled, unaware of the true instructions given to us long ago. Will you practice the traditions of man-made religion or follow the God-given truth? Clear explanation of the Torah is needed to free the blind from leading the blind. Prepare for a rude awakening.
If we are to live the truth, we must be willing to constantly challenge the traditions and teachings that we've inherited from our parents and religious systems.
Author and historian Michael Rood gives you clear insight on the pagan traditions you've been practicing for years, equipping you with the knowledge to come running out of Babylon.
This is the paradigm shift for which you have been waiting an entire lifetime.
Thus says the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Truth is always more exciting than fictitious traditions and fairy tales based on ignorance of the scriptures.
Will you leave your Western Gentile mentality behind? Truth and tradition. Order online now at www.aroodawakening.tv or call to order your copy today.
The Enlace television network in Costa Rica asked me to produce and put me under contract to produce television programs on the Feast of the Lord and the prophetic fulfillment. They offered me a place there, a studio to do it. I said, no, I'm going to Israel. I'm going to do it on location in Israel. I flew from there to Florida, and I went to a congregation to speak, and after that meeting, I stepped outside and met the gentleman that you're going to meet now. And finding his credentials, the two of us checked into a hotel room the next day, and for the next several weeks, we started writing scripts for the Rude Awakening television program. He borrowed all the equipment so that we could get over to Israel and to do Sodom and Gomorrah, episode number 1. And without this gentleman, there would be no A Rude Awakening ever. This gentleman put it all on the line, put his inheritance on the line, put everything on the line, moved to Israel with me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you appreciate A Rude Awakening, then you appreciate Chaim Goldman, producer, director, cameraman, gaffer, editor, doing everything. Chaim, welcome.
Hey.
Chaim, we moved over to Israel together. We built our sukkah. And 6 months later, we almost got blown up downtown Jerusalem.
Yeah. It's a lot has changed since then. I'm sitting here on this set, thinking back to the place where I was editing the original A Rude Awakening episode after we shot it out in the desert in the Sodom and Gomorrah area, and the apartment was smaller than this set.
Right, the apartment.
It was a 100-year-old apartment in Jerusalem near the Shuk. It was great. It was historic, but we had a camera this big. And
that's right. You can hold it in your hands
and
like
my
that.
laptop I was using, and that's what we edited the first show on and produced it. And now, I mean, look this is fun.
It
you have a lot of toys here. This is great.
Well, it's we saw the opportunity back then, and we kept on pressing because we saw that this thing is going to go to the internet. We saw it. We knew it. This is how many years ago now? 10 years ago?
Over 10, 11. Yeah,
11
2001.
Years ago. And we designed websites that it was going to be another 5 to 8 years before it could even be functioning.
Well, RoodAwakening.tv.
That's right, RoodAwakening.tv. And here it is today, and it's happening.
It's amazing.
And now we're taking the next step because you're here for a different project right now.
Right, about health.
That's right. And tell us a little bit about where we're going, Biblical Health TV.
Well, after I worked, I guess, about 4 or 5 years directly with the ministry, and then I went out and I was doing different kinds of productions. But Dr. Jeff Hazim, who was just here, was a friend who I met basically right after we met because of meeting my wife, who he was working. She was working with him in his chiropractic office at the time. And Jeff supported me when I was over working for Rood Awakening Ministries. But when I started getting into internet marketing, especially 3 years ago, I went to Jeff 3.5 years ago and really fascinated by what was going on with the convergence of video on the internet and marketing and how this was really becoming very, very video-centric and sort of the industry that had sort of died, video production. People weren't hiring people as much, but it was coming back around. I went to Jeff and I said, we need to get this health message that you teach out on the internet. We can get this around the world. And we were thinking, well, who do we market it to? And it just became so clear, and looking at the materials that he already did, is we need to go out to the body of believers. We need to get them because we have the book already. We have the instruction manual, but we don't understand what it's saying, and it's so important. And now we can get it around the world, this message. And that's when we started what was called Well With You at the time, which has now become Biblical Health Television.
That's right. And now with the Biblical Health Television, we're actually broadcasting out to that audience through biblicalhealth.tv/Rood.
And we just got the full site up. We're actually, please go out there and check it out. We're finding I'll say on the Internet Explorer browser, it's not formatting too pretty, so if you see it, but we've had our membership site up for about 6 months, but we've been looking to get the full site up, and as of this morning, just sort of like as you were finishing off your set here. It seems to be a day for finishing things.
Yeah, that's right.
So check it out, but there's a lot more coming, but this is the first time that we've ever announced it here on your program.
Now, when we first moved to Israel, we were bachelors, and now your wife is with us, Leva. Kim is with us, and you have something to present. Everyone is going to be able to see the latest of
tomorrow.
How many Goldmans do we have out there now?
We have, the sixth child was born 1 month ago.
Okay, so he's Chaim and Kim have been busy.
Right, the oldest is 9.5, so it's been busy, yes.
So Chaim, thanks for being with us. Chaim is going to be laying some things out on Sunday morning. He's going to be with us, and so also Kim is going to be with us. So everyone that's here, get in your car, get on a plane, whatever you have to do, get here, folks. If you're within driving distance of 12 hours, just get in the car right now, start driving, get here. It's a life-changing thing. We still got a little bit of room here, okay? We got some overflow room. This is going to change your life. So Chaim, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Michael.
We're going to be back in just a moment.
Each year, thousands of rockets are launched into the land of Israel, leaving behind destruction and devastation. Today, as radical Islamic forces have systematically attempted thorough terror to destroy Israeli families, painfully traumatized children are often left to face the world alone. Discriminated for their belief in the Messiah, Messianic Jewish and Sudanese widows and orphans receive no help from the Orthodox and government charities. But you can help. Without your prayers and financial support, these women and children will face devastation, disease, and no hope. The Lydia Project provides for the widows, the orphans, and the poor in the land of Israel. The Lydia Project uses the tithes and offerings you entrust to us to provide assistance of every kind to these families. You can give a child a new and bright tomorrow. You can make a difference. Call today with your gift of $20 or more sown into the good ground of the Lydia Project and bring hope back to the lives of Messianic children and widows who need your help. Call now.
Do you have unanswered questions about God? Is there scientific and archaeological evidence for the stories in the Bible? Are you questioning the origin of your faith's traditions, looking for something more? Are you ready for the truth? Then prepare for A Rood Awakening from Israel, Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. on Direct TV, Channel 371.
Are we doing? Oh, I believe it was probably a good dozen years ago that I was at the conference of the Israeli New Moon Society, and the keynote speaker got up and was arranging his notes, and the gentleman that was with me went out there and told him that I was there in the audience. He came back and spoke to me for a minute. He was familiar with the work that we had done on the restoration of the biblical calendar, and this is what the Israeli New Moon Society had been working on for quite some time, because they know, the rabbinic scholars understand how the calendar worked in the temple period. And he came back to me and said, there's one more calculation that you have to get correct in order for this to be dead on. And he wrote on the corner of a piece of paper that I had in front of me, he wrote down a name and a phone number, and it was very small. He put it under his thumb, and he said, now don't show this to anyone because it'll get us both thrown out of here. and so he said, do you understand? And I said, yeah, I understand. I didn't understand why the name and number would get us thrown out of here, but I understood that I wasn't to let it out. So I rolled it to the edge of the table, I rolled it up, I stuck it in my pocket. The next day I made a phone call, and within a few hours we were at coffee time downtown Jerusalem with Nehemiah Gordon, the Karaite scholar who many of you have gotten to know through the years, first of all, with The Great Secret of Solomon's Temple, the video that went out, and right here, the magazine from the Knights Templar, the Knights Templar magazine reviewing The Great Secret of Solomon's Temple video. Went out to 180,000 of their Knights Templar out there. They didn't appreciate some of my preaching, but they appreciated some of the stuff we got into. And that's what launched us out on this thing. And that day with Nehemiah, that's when we began to develop a friendship and a working relationship that has then turned into some great revelation, that then later Keith Johnson came over, stayed with us in Israel, and now, ladies and gentlemen, Keith and Nehemiah have been out touring, writing books together, and here they are in Shabbat Night Live. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us, Michael.
Well, Nehemiah, people know of you from your work as far as restoring the part of the calendar concerning the Aviv barley in the land of Israel.
Right.
And this is something that that you went over. That was part of the reason why you went over to Israel to do this. Tell us just a little bit about this, because we're coming up on a very significant date that without finding the first month correctly, we wouldn't find the Day of Trumpets correctly.
Right, exactly. And the biblical calendar is something that, you mentioned how the Israeli New Moon Society goes out every month and they cite the new moon. And this is something that Karaite Jews, I'm a Karaite Jew, strictly Old Testament Jew. This is something that Karaite Jews have been doing for quite some time, even before the Israeli New Moon Society. And it's interesting because there's all these, in your movement, in the Hebrew Roots movement, there's all these different opinions and theories and ideas about the calendar.
A new one every week.
Every month there's a new theory of this and that and different ways of calculating. And in Judaism, there really isn't a dispute about that. If you ask the rabbis, how is it done in Second Temple times and First Temple times, all the way up to 359 AD, they'll tell you, no question, it was the sighting of the new moon in the land of Israel, and they looked at the Aviv barley as well. And so as a Karaite Jew,
I say, let's do that now. They say that they're going to go back to doing that when the Messiah comes. Until then, they have to follow this tradition from Hill II in 359. And I say, let's do it now. And so actually,
right.
Keith and I are about to go over to Israel to sight the new moon for Yom Teruah, for the Feast of Trumpets or Feast of Shouting. It's a very difficult sighting, and so we're actually going to fly over there for the specific purpose of sighting the moon, and we're actually going to be going down to a lot in southern Israel, which has some of the best vistas in Israel to sight the moon, and it's in a place that's on the border of Egypt, and we've actually been in touch with the Israeli military liaison of the Eilat region, and she told us it is very dangerous, and told us that we should, it's not a great idea, and that we might get shot even by the Israeli side because they might mistake us for infiltrators.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. You know what? I've gotten him kicked out of some places too, not just you, Michael. So anyway, we're going to go over there. We're going to sight the new moon, and we're going to announce it, actually. And I understand that we're going to be sending a video.
That's right. It's going to be filmed, and it's going to be live. It's going to come over, and we're going to put it on the air, direct feed as we get it in from Israel. So they're going to upload it, and we're going to be in the desert with them. And Monday night, we have at 5 minutes after sunset, the first light of the new moon will be 3.28% illuminated at 6.57 degrees above the horizon. Very short lag time right after sunset. And so it has to be absolutely ideal conditions. But this is one of these beautiful things about the Day of Trumpets, the Day of Shouting, is that's why it's a day and hour that no man knows.
Exactly. And that's interesting because in the traditional Judaism, in rabbinical Judaism, what they did, even in temple times, is they would observe that holiday for 2 days. And why would they do it for 2 days? They explain in their sources because they don't know which day it is. They don't know if the moon would be visible Monday night or Tuesday night, so they keep it for both, even though only one of those is God's true times. And so it really is a time that no one knows the day or the hour until it happens. You can't predict it in advance.
So this gives a little bit more quality to what Yeshua said when he's talking about that day and hour knows no man, because it's talking about really the resurrection. And in Judaism, the Day of Trumpet, the Day of Shouting is linked to the resurrection, is it not?
Possibly in some of the traditions, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not across the board. And as a matter of fact, there's like anti-tradition to where it's now Rosh Hashanah, which is
the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is not even Rosh Hashanah. So,
right. And you mentioned about, and I see you got my book there, my new book, Shattering the Conspiracy of Silence.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute, Nehemiah.
Okay.
This is, I'll tell you. This is some of the life-changing stuff.
But it's actually tied into the name, because the name of Yom Teruah, of Feast of Trumpets, it's actually the word Teruah means to make a great noise. And in Leviticus, in one place in Leviticus and Numbers, it's called Day of Shouting, and the other, it's the Zichron Teruah, which means the mentioning of shouting. And some people explain that as the day of mentioning the name of our Heavenly Father. Because, all the other feasts have something tied to them. Sukkot is you dwelt in booths when you came out of Egypt. Shavuot is the harvest festival, and possibly the giving of the Torah, according to some. But what is this Zichron Teruah, this day of shouting? What are you shouting about? And so according to some people, Zichron Teruah, this other name for it, the mentioning of shouting, has to do with mentioning the name of our Heavenly Father.
Amen. And something that's forbidden, and you are going to be shattering this conspiracy of silence tonight.
Yep.
Right here on Shabbat Night Live. Ladies and gentlemen, it was, I think, a few years after that we got together with Nehemiah the first time, and that's when I presented a problem to Nehemiah. I told him that, first of all, our problem in Matthew 23, or as Nehemiah would say, it's my problem, not his problem. And I saw a conflict of what I saw in the Gospel of Matthew. And I told Nehemiah, I said, every extant Greek text says the same thing. I said, there's no way Yeshua could have said that. And so we spent some time. I took him through and I showed him why I said it is contrary to everything that I saw Yeshua is doing and teaching. And Nehemiah, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is when the Almighty came out of the box for me. Because I laid this in Nehemiah's hand, and he said, well, this is an apparent contradiction in an ancient text. That's my field of expertise. Many, many ancient Semitic languages he is absolutely fluent in. And so what I saw ladies and gentlemen, and I know I saw Nehemiah as a Karaite Jew being led by the Spirit of God to discover things that have been hidden for hundreds and hundreds of years that gave me the information that I needed. And when Nehemiah found it, he gave it to me and he said, I don't want to say anything about this. You know, he gave it to me and say, you get this out. But I said, Nehemiah, no, this is too hot. You know, you've got to help me. You've got to do on this. And I saw him take that revelation because he was led to this. And Nehemiah, at the time, you actually became aware of a work that was done with about 9 Hebrew manuscripts of the ancient Hebrew Matthew.
Right.
But since then, you have been on this thing, and how many additional Hebrew texts of Matthew that no one has known about, how many have you found now?
A total of 28 manuscripts of this Hebrew Matthew.
A total of 28. There were 9 known on the planet. Nehemiah found the rest of these 28, and I'll tell you, in the chronological Gospels, and if we get together for Hanukkah, which we're talking about doing now, getting together for Hanukkah, we're going to show you 2 manuscripts that is going to absolutely blow your mind, because no Greek manuscript, no Aramaic manuscript of Matthew has this information, and we've got it, and we're going to put it right in front of your face. Incredible stuff. Keith, we're going to step over to Keith for just a minute. Yeah, Keith is here. Keith is, he has been working on this project. When he came over to Jerusalem, he stayed with us. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that Chaim borrowed this little camera. And an American football player saw that video. He asked me to come to his place, and he said, I want to help out. Reggie White bought us our first professional camera, and as a matter of fact, the tripod right there is the one that that Reggie got for us, and this teleprompter, still, a dozen years later, we're still using this right here. And so when Reggie called and said, I have a friend that wants to come over, I prayed about it, and I said, send him. Keith was on his way, and you came, and as a United Methodist pastor, you came over on a divine appointment, led by the Almighty, by a direct revelation dream that brought you to Israel, brought you to our place, and then you guys connected together on the 3 T's. Tell us a little bit about it, Keith.
All I can say, Michael, is I am in shock as I'm sitting here in the studio. I hope people get the sense of what we're doing. This is the first time that we're all in the studio, and I told Nehemiah on our way here that last year sometime around Shavuot, we sat in this same spot with a little round table and some curtains in the back. And a year later I said, Nehemiah, you have no idea what we're going to do. You got to put a suit jacket on. You're going to have to match me. You're going to have to get your head right. You're going to have to look like me. And the reason I told him that is I said, we're about to be on the cutting edge television station in not only the Messianic movement, I will say in the religious movement. So I want to tell you, I'm excited about that. Now let me tell you what happened. I met you. 3 T's, time, Torah, Tetragrammaton, changed my life, changed my family, changed my ministry. And for the last 10 years, I've been working on 2 of them. I've been working on the Torah. We teach every week. 52 weeks we've done Truth to You, Torah Pearls, and also the Tetragrammaton. So many things, books, DVDs, and all that. But then this year, I did something really radical, Michael. I took a little camera in the spirit of the Rood Awakening Ministries with me to teach people about time. And I have to tell you, I am now ready to share that information. We are now going to do something really radical. The last episode of Time Will Tell will be taped for Yom Teruah while we're there together. We're going to be doing the last episode, but the first episode's done. A Rood Awakening did the first episode, and tonight I've come for one special reason, and that's to give you a gift that everyone is here will have that gift if you can show it to them.
That's right.
I have brought one for everyone in this room.
Is going to be getting this. It is the first episode that the Aviv Moon Productions, Rood Awakening, did for Keith, because I told him I'm going to help him get this thing out here. And also, there's something on here. Those of you who are not able to join us for Passover last year, we had to cut it off. 520 people is all that we could fit in for that extravaganza that weekend. And Keith's teaching on time is on this as well. So 2 DVDs. And so everyone who is here for the weekend, none of you out there in television land, on the internet or anything else, you don't get this. You're going to have to order this. But everyone here is going to get a free copy of this. And so now you gentlemen are on your way to Israel. Don your flak jackets. They're down on the Egyptian border. where there was a crossing that was done not that long ago. I mean, there were 12 dead bodies at the end of that, and so. There's one word I have for you. The safest place for you to be is in the will of Yah, in the will of the Almighty God.
Amen.
Amen.
Michael, I want to share. I just want to share one thing. I actually have something here that Nehemiah let me borrow some months ago, and this is actually a watch from his father. His father passed away, as you know, in this last year, and Nehemiah and I were on tour together when this happened. There were 3 things that he found from his father. One of them was this watch, and it's really interesting. This particular watch is broken, and it's something that his father had, but it's broken. And we're going to go to Yom Teruah at the time of Rosh Hashanah, according to the rabbinic calendar. We will land in Israel on Sunday. We will go to the Western Wall, and people will be celebrating Rosh Hashanah. And I will take the camera and I will show up. There will not be a clock in the sky. God's clock will not be in the sky.
That's
there
right.
will be
Absolutely
no
impossible. There will be no moon that night, period.
And the only reason they're celebrating is because they go by this broken clock. The rabbinic calendar is a broken clock. And I want to say something radical before you kick me off. There's a lot of people that are going by a broken clock in the Christian community, in the Messianic community, in the Jewish community. But here's what I found. God's clock is still working. We can sync our clock to his clock, and that's what this whole project is about. The Clock Crisis, the Time Will Tell series is all about that, and I want to thank you and everyone here, a part of A Rood Awakening, that helped us get that going. We're going to do about 12 episodes, but the first one is done. Thank you so much. We found the clock that works.
That's right. Well, we are... We are living in God's universe. The world in which we live is synchronized according to the Creator's time clock and his calendar. And whether we recognize it, live by it, understand it or not, makes no difference to him. He does not spin the universe around what we do not understand. It just rolls right on over us. But we, the children of light, as Shaul said, we are not to be ignorant of his times and seasons. But yet we have been raised in a culture in which we know nothing about the biblical reckoning of time. Right. The modern Jewish calendar is not the biblical reckoning of time, and the Almighty still runs the universe by his calendar. Amen. And that's why we are going back to it. We are not backing down. We are going to go by the Creator's calendar and let the rest of the world go to hell in a handbasket, if that's what they decide to do. I need someone to go get, I have a shofar bag with one of these gentlemen's names on it. It's over in the bookstore. I need that right now. I need it over here. Ladies and gentlemen, this last year, we had, just before Shavuot, I was so tormented. I was up in the middle of the night walking through the woods at 3 o'clock in the morning because I knew something was changing for Shavuot. Something was going to change, and I knew that I had to be open for it. I got a call, the couple that was going to be with us, Jim and Penny Caldwell, who were the ones that smuggled all of the artifacts and the video footage out of Arabia. They were going to be there. I got a call, Jim had a massive heart attack. The next day, Nehemiah and Keith come into my office, right straight out of Smithfield, and when I heard what Keith had to say, because we hadn't been together for like 10 years, and I could see that Keith had been on the same path of obedience through this time. His name, his times, and his Torah. And he was communicating this, and what these gentlemen were doing was shaking things and causing a real revival that was taking place. And I knew then that we needed to get and to bring them on Shavuot. Little did I know that this was going to turn into then Yom Teruah, then Hanukkah, 18 hours of teaching that we recorded, and there is serious revelation in this. And some of the things that Nehemiah shared, I could see the hand of the Almighty working with him. And the incident about Elijah, that was one of the most powerful things to me, because I saw that, see, it wasn't just him being led by the Spirit now. It's that there was a priming that was going on his whole life. And that's why I say, I believe that Nehemiah Gordon is a prophet. Now, I'm not saying that he foretells the future. I say that he is a spokesman. The correct term of the English word prophet, okay, is a spokesman.
Well, for the record, I'm neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet.
It's a spokesman. I'm using it in the proper English tense, a spokesman, and he is delivering a clean and a fresh word. Nehemiah is giving information to us that benefits him to no degree whatsoever. He's a Karaite Jew. He's not a follower of Yeshua. But yet he's bringing forth revelation from Yeshua's words in Hebrew that is giving us clarity of Yeshua's message, which I believe him to be the prophet, that we are to Shema. We are to hear and obey, and we will be judged according to our response to the prophet.
Yeshua, not Nehemiah, right?
Yeah, Yeshua. Right, Nehemiah is not the prophet.
I'm neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet.
Okay, he's a spokesman. Small s.
I'll take the
spokesman, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Nehemiah came in a few weeks ago, and he gave me his new book, which is Shattering the Conspiracy of Silence. And this is on the Aaronic blessing, but it's more than that. It is to him taking us on a journey of the revelations that have happened in his life. And when I heard the incident and I read this, ladies and gentlemen, I was in tears over and over as I read this book. Because we are not reading just a scholarly work. We are reading the hand of the Almighty in the life of a man who he is leading him and bringing him to revelations for this generation. And at the very time, and you're going to see this, at the very time that men were shouting out, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and crashing planes into the World Trade Center. Those two planes hit. Those were the two times that Nehemiah, in the ancient Hebrew manuscript, saw the name with all the vowels. The Almighty is not going to let his name to be put under. When people are shouting out the name of Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater, the Almighty says, no, I am greater. He is the greatest, and there is no moon god on the planet who is greater.
Amen.
And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Nehemiah has brought his books for the first time. His books are available right here with the Rood Awakening as of tonight.
Yes.
Nehemiah, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we made this for Nehemiah. This was done. Wait, give me the.
They already gave mine earlier today.
They already gave it.
They stole your thunder, Michael.
Talk about the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. I'll tell you. Well, see, we have this shofar bag. These are the most elegant, gorgeous velvet. And we made these available for people to have custom made, $250 or more gift offering for this, because these are satin lined. They're absolutely beautiful. And I point that out just because this is the appreciation that we have for Nehemiah, for the work that he has done in helping. As I say, he is the best friend of the Messianic movement, the best friend of Christians, because he is not afraid to tell the truth and to lay out what he's finding in these manuscripts that is giving us a better picture of Yeshua. Mm-hmm. Nehemiah, thank you.
Thank you,
brother. And Keith, we have your video that's going in the hands of everyone. Now you are going to be leaving to go to Israel. Mm-hmm. You are going to be sighting the new moon. Mm-hmm. And if it's not seen on Monday, you'll be there, and you're going to be sighting on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. So we're starting our celebration as in the days of old, as in the court of the king, a 2-day celebration. And so we will not miss the high day.
All right.
And so we're going to be here. We're going to be here with you, and we're looking forward to that. Oh. And Nehemiah, I would like for you.
And you know, Mike, we don't really have time to get into that, so I'm going to save that for Hanukkah. I'm going to save it for Hanukkah. Is that okay?
Save what we were going to do?
What I was going to do for Hanukkah.
You can't save
it.
I'm going to save it for Hanukkah.
Okay. Nehemiah says he's going to save it for Hanukkah.
There was something I wanted to talk about and share today, something very, very...
Tomorrow's not promised.
Intimate and but I'm going to save that for Hanukkah.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Well, we're out of time. I see the time's up.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, all right.
I won't do
all right.
justice. I mean, you know.
Well, this is the plan as of right now. The chronological Gospels.
There it is.
Hanukkah. 40 years I spent on this. And that is why 38 years ago I started on the restoration of the calendar to understand this. Back then, 40 years ago, 38 years ago, we were simply denoting 2930, 2930, 2930, admitting that we were guessing. But because of what NASA did, we are now able to calculate the first of the new moon. We can run it back in time. We can find dates in antiquity. We can take it right back to the Julian calendar, put in place 42 years before Yeshua was born, and we can nail down things in antiquity that we are simply guessing at. And because of the work of Nehemiah on the Aviv barley, was a major, major piece on that, and we're going to be sharing more at Hanukkah this year. So do not miss Hanukkah. Start registering for it right now. Remember, especially the Day of Trumpets, we'll be together for that, and then our next time together is going to be Hanukkah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a moment for our teaching for Coming Out of Babylon Shabbat Night Live. Gentlemen, thanks.
This month, for your gift of $40 or more sown into the good ground of Rood Awakening International, Michael and Judith Rood would like for you to receive this replica of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. Handcrafted in the land of Israel, this beautiful reproduction of the Holy Temple will remind you daily of our Holy Father and comes complete with a card that describes each area of the temple. This statuary will be a wonderful complement to your home or office. Or for your gift of $120 or more, Michael and Judith would like for you to receive the Fall Feast Collection. This collection includes the 4-DVD teaching series, Prophecies in the Fall Feast of the Lord.
This Redeemer was prophesied in every detail of the Feast of the Lord that the nation of Israel was commanded to observe forever. These feasts are the prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come, of which the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, speaks.
6.5 hours of teaching that reveals the beauty of the feast and clearly details their past and future fulfillment. This teaching series, 13-episode format, makes it perfect to use as a home or congregational study.
Today, we are in the time period between the fulfillment of the Spring Feast of the Lord and the fulfillment of the Fall Feast. This is the time period set aside for the Gentiles to come into the kingdom through the obedience of the Messiah.
Also included in this collection is Batya Wooten's life-changing book, Israel's Feast in Their Fullness. Acclaimed as the best feast book ever, Batya explains why believers now feel led to celebrate the feasts and how their celebrations relate to today. This inspiring book explains how to have Shabbat, Havdalah, and New Moon celebrations, the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, and the prophetic significance of twin silver trumpets and the shofar, the issue of Christmas and the timing of Yeshua's birth, the Feast of Tabernacles and the 8th day, and so much more. Also, you will enjoy Paul Wilbur's musical CD, The Lion of Judah, passionate live worship from Jerusalem. Come to the Feast of the Lord as Paul Wilbur beckons believers to join the celebration on Mount Zion as they worship the one who pours out his Spirit. From the jubilant sounds of Come Let's Go Up to the Mountain,
Come, let's go up to the mountain. Come, let's go up to the Lord. Come, let's go up to the mountain. He will teach us his way.
to songs of intimate worship like Show Me Your Face,
Show me your face.
and Dance With Me. Lion of Judah is an extraordinary experience of powerful messianic worship that can be enjoyed in your car or in your home. And if you call today with your gift of $120 or more, Mike will also include the replica of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem to complete this unparalleled offer. Never before has this kind of collection been offered to completely celebrate the fall feast and their significance to you. Call the number on your screen or visit our website, www.aroodawakening.tv, to receive the Holy Temple of Jerusalem or the entire Fall Feast collection. Supplies are limited. Don't miss this opportunity to learn how our Heavenly Father intended the Fall Feast to be celebrated.
Do you have unanswered questions about God? Is there scientific and archaeological evidence for the stories in the Bible? Are you questioning the origin of your faith's traditions, looking for something more? Are you ready for the truth? Then prepare for A Rude Awakening from Israel, Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. on the Church Channel.
Well, in more ways than one, it is a miracle that I am here today. It was 10 years ago that Chaim Goldman and I were downtown Jerusalem, and we experienced something that happened after a question came to my mind. We were filming on the side of the Mount of Olives. I was about to have a tour, my first Israel tour, come in. Buses were being blown up nearly every week. And it was a lot of bloodshed that was going on in the city of Jerusalem, and we were getting on these buses. That was our only transportation. We were doing everything on a shoestring, and the question came up in my spirit: what are you going to do if the tour bus that you bring over gets blown up? Well, you know, that's not something that you can easily answer. What do you do if the bus gets blown up? And it just haunted me for days. And so it was on a Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, that we finally, after several days of rain, Chaim left and was gone. It was just a day off, a day to relax. The sun was out. And so I decided I wanted a cup of coffee, so I walked the 3 miles down to City Center in Jerusalem. I got down there, the streets were crowded, and as I walked up near a shoe store, something caught my eye at the shoe store, and I approached the door, and a woman walked out with a suitcase in her hand. I took 4 more steps, and her head landed at my feet. In that suitcase was a bomb. It was the largest bomb that had ever been detonated downtown Jerusalem, and the woman's head landed at my feet. And the bomb blast just happened to pass me on each side, because I stepped at that split second on the opposite side of a 16-inch wide concrete pillar. It blew the entire front of the store away. And then as I looked down at myself, I saw the woman's head. I looked to my left. There was a man there with his right arm blown off. His leg was blown off. The stump of his arm was on fire. He flailed for a minute, and he was dead. I saw arms and legs, and I looked at myself. I had body parts, pieces of flesh on me. And as the smoke cleared, I looked down to see if I was all there. And then I heard a voice that said very clearly, very calmly, "You are here to help." And at that moment, I knew exactly why I was here. I leaped over the woman's head. I got to an Israeli soldier blown to his back, and I began to assist the wounded at that place. I tell the whole story in the Sinai Connection, so I'm not going to bore you with the details of what happened, but it turned out that within the next few hours, we found out that Chaim Goldman, my producer, was in that store when the woman brought the suitcase in. It was armed. She set it down, and she got alarmed. For some reason, picked up the bomb and walked out with it. Crossed my path, and bam, it went off. If it had gone off in that building, there would have been at least 30 people dead in that women's and children's shoe store. The terrorists are absolutely vicious. They want Israel gone. The moon god worshipers do not want the name of the true God known. They do not want his reputation to go unsoiled. And that is why we take a stand. And that is when we found out the safest place for us to be is in his will. Both of us, we hadn't seen each other in 3 hours, yet we were on each side of that bomber within a fraction of a moment. And yet we made it out alive. See, I had to look at what the hand of the Almighty has done in my life and realize he's taken me to certain places and done certain things so that I could help other people. And it was 4 years ago that something started to haunt me. For years, I've been bringing people out of Babylon. I have been teaching them about the Babylonian religious system and doing a fairly decent job at it. I can wake people up from Babylon, but yet there was something haunting me. There was something more about Babylon that I did not understand. And so I was praying about it. What is it about Babylon? What are you trying to show me? This is my prayer. What are you trying to show me? And just as I finished the Newton's Last Dilemma, a tour that I did. I finished the very last night, and the very next day I could not move. I could not get out of bed. I was in a hotel room. It took 3 days before I could get out of bed, and they got me to a wheelchair, got me to my vehicle. I drove that vehicle completely lame, tortured, in pain. They brought buckets of ice to me, and I just froze my leg because I was in such pain, and there was nothing I could do. I got in my vehicle, I drove to Michigan, right straight to my parents' place, and they drove me right straight to hospice. Not to check me in, just to get another wheelchair at the time. But then I went right from there and to the emergency room of the VA. Because I'm a Vietnam-era veteran, I have access to the VA. They take good care of veterans. And so I went in and checked in after a night of hallucinating from the pain. And my wife got me down there to the VA hospital. They gave me a shot to knock me out. And then when I came to, then the doctor told me that he has his own practice. He works at the VA part-time. And he said that they can give me pain pills and they can manage the pain. But he said, you will pay for it for the rest of your life. He says, my patients and I myself, we don't do any drugs. We use the leaves of the trees, we use the herbs, we use the plants that God put on the earth because the body was created to heal itself. And most people will not manage their own health. They want a quick fix. They want the wires to be snipped to the warning lights that are flashing that's telling them that something is wrong with them. They just want the symptoms to go away. We can make the symptoms go away, but you will pay for it for the rest of your life. He gave me a bottle of 100 painkillers. I took one, and I decided something has got to change, because I know that the man was speaking the truth. And for a doctor at the VA to tell me that he doesn't do any drugs, his patients don't do any drugs, the only ones that do drugs are those who refuse to manage their own life and health and do what is necessary for the body to heal itself. Well, that didn't end the pain. I continued going to the VA because I needed to know what's going on. According to their records, they spent about the equivalent of $100,000 doing testing over the next year and a half to 2 years, in which I was in and out of a wheelchair over and over and over again. I went from wheelchair to crutches, month after month. I would pray for people for their healing. I'd be sitting at my desk in my office with my leg up in ice, and I would pray for people, and they'd be miraculously and instantaneously healed by praying on the phone. And I'd get off the phone with them, and I am an absolute cripple. Something is going wrong. This began my journey of discovery because we had a gentleman who came in to do some editing for us. Brilliant, an absolute brilliant gentleman. All of his family members, they're all engineers. And he was absolutely brilliant, but he was with us for a few months and then could no longer work because his two sons were themselves brilliant young men. They were in grade school, but they got a series of vaccinations, and now both of his sons are so severely autistic, they have to be managed not by his wife 24 hours a day, but it takes both of them to try to take care of those kids 24 hours a day. A week later, a gentleman was coming in to help to do some painting, a volunteer, a person who had been with the ministry for years. Both of his children, both boys, doing fine. Then they got a series of vaccinations to go to school, both of them almost idiots, and I'm speaking in the medical term. Can't carry on a coherent conversation, head banging, have to wear helmets, just like that. Completely destroyed their lives and the lives of that family. And then, a few weeks later, I was at the Feast of Sukkot. A family I had known for years, supporters of the ministry, been with me and part of the ministry for years. I go out and see them. They're two sharp kids. Again, time to send them to school, got the vaccinations. Now both of them severely autistic, and the medical profession kept on pumping them with different drugs to where now these children are almost destroyed. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a taste of Babylon because I thought I was doing the right thing. I was being treated by the VA for Gulf War syndrome, but yet I missed the Gulf War. Why is it that they're all treating me and asking me about my time in the Gulf War? It's because before taking a mission trip to Africa, they told me I needed this series of all these vaccinations. Well, I wasn't afraid of these things. I got them all in the Marine Corps. I've had them before. I got hit with them this time, and it put me in a wheelchair and crutches for the next 2 years of my life in excruciating pain. And so I got a taste of Babylon. And I'm here to warn you that we are being set up. That is what is going on in this country to take us from the healthiest nation on the planet to now the sickest nation on the planet. That it's not by accident. If you think this is by accident, then you don't understand Babylon. If you think that you will be told the real reason why an entire generations of Americans are being mentally destroyed. 10 years ago, 1 out of 10,000 American children were diagnosed with autism. Today, it's 1 in 67. Do you hear me? There is no such thing as a genetic epidemic. These children are being given autism. Well, they are being set up, and what they are suffering is because the system is causing this to happen. Make no mistake, and if you think the FDA is there to protect you, you don't understand Babylon. FDA is filled with doctors that are paid for and belong to the pharmaceutical corporations, and they are in there to fast-track things to make money. They are not there to save lives. That is a complete whorehouse. I'm telling you, it's a whorehouse. These men and women are killing people, and they're doing it for money. And we have got to take a stand. We've got to call it like it is, because we are not going to put up with Babylon anymore. We were warned 2,000 years ago exactly what the situation was, and we're going to see it from the Word this very evening. I'll tell you, I am sick and tired. 2- and 3-year-old babies now. A cancer epidemic. Cancer tumors in 2- and 3-year-old babies, and what are they finding in these cancer tumors? The DNA of African monkeys. How does the DNA of African monkeys get in 2- and 3-year-old babies? What is cancer? What are these tumors? These tumors are intelligent cocoons that the body is making to cover over and to keep these foreign bodies from destroying the host. Where is this DNA from monkeys coming from? I had to fight 33 years ago when my first daughter was born. I did not leave her side. I wouldn't let them give my daughter an injection of anything. And I stayed with her a long time. My wife thought something was really wrong. I was gone so long, but I was not going to let that child out of my eyesight. And that is how I watched over every one of my children. Because I knew, I watched it happen. I saw other people whose children had gone through this and saw them destroyed. And that was 33 years ago. And it's like, what happened to me? I lost my mind. And I did it. Childhood cancer is now epidemic, and if you think that you are going to be told by the FDA or by this government or by the medical profession why babies have cancer tumors with the DNA of African monkeys, if you think that, then you don't understand Babylon. Several years ago, I was up in Michigan. As we were driving down the road, my mother pointed out the field and said, "Look, no more amber waves of grain." I said, "What are you talking about?" "I'm looking at a wheat field." She said, "Yeah, look at the wheat field. See the wind blowing? The waves aren't, the grain is not waving. It's all been genetically modified. It only grows so tall with these firm stalks, there's no more wind damage." What are they doing? They are splicing in the genes of animals in with plants, and now over 90% of the wheat grown in America that is made into all the bread has been genetically modified. You are no longer eating wheat. You are eating a crossbred between animals. I was over in Germany. I was with a gentleman that was in the natural oils business, the essential oils business. And I mean, not selling little bottles, selling canisters, selling this stuff by the gallons. And he supplied to beekeepers because bees get bee mites. And there is a product that is very, very inexpensive. It's a poison. And it will kill the bee mites but won't kill the bees. But if the poison gets to a certain level within the honey, they can't sell the honey. It's there all the time. You know, if they're using this stuff, it's in the honey. If it's not organic, it's in the honey. This deadly poison is in there. But they lobbied the Congress in these different countries, and so they passed the law so they can have so much poison in the honey and they don't have to report it. But those who do organic hives, they can use an essential oil from a plant, absolutely pure, that you can literally drink. Put it on your skin. It's healthy for you. And it costs over 4 times as much. It kills the bee mites and doesn't harm the bees. He told me something was going on. He told me that, for one thing, you all know that over 1 million beehives in America are being destroyed every year. Every year, there are 747s that fly out of Australia bringing beehives to America because there are no longer enough bees in America to fertilize the food crops to feed the nation. 747s with millions of beehives are being flown into America, and they die every year. The gentleman over in Germany told me what happened. For 20 years, they kept Monsanto out of Germany. But he said the beekeepers now had to get all their hives out of the country and take them into the cities because Monsanto is now planting their genetically modified crops, and now the beehives are disappearing from Germany. The beekeepers have to get them out of the country because Monsanto paid off the people in Germany to allow them to come in to bring this polluted pharmacia, these plants from hell, created in a laboratory that is destroying us on the genetic level. If you think you're going to be told by the FDA why 1 million beehives in America are disappearing a year, then you don't understand Babylon. These people will lie to you because there's money to be made, and that's what's going on. Money is to be made, and there's not a doctor or scientist out there that's taking a stand. Oh, there are. There are. I have to correct myself. They are standing up, and they are finding themselves persecuted. They're finding themselves shot at. They're finding themselves with gunshot wounds to the back of the head from a distance of 15 yards and a suicide. This is the kind of stuff that's going on in America. If you think this is a free country, ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand Babylon. I was down in a South American country. I won't tell you where it's at because I promised the people I wouldn't expose them. We were staying with a couple. Both of them were chemists working for pharmaceutical corporations. One of them went to work for a soft drink company that you would recognize immediately. And they were putting in, the very first day on the job, they went to their supervisor and asked why they were putting this particular chemical in this soft drink. It's deadly poison. But because it doesn't reach this particular threshold, it doesn't have to be reported as an ingredient because they have been paid off all over the world to allow this to go in. See, originally this had an addictive substance in it, but that addictive substance was very expensive. There's still an addictive substance, and it's deadly poison. It's still being put in this soft drink, but it's not put in at a level that has to be reported. She asked, why are we putting this poison in this soft drink? And her supervisor said, right through that door are 100 attorneys that would be glad to answer your question, but you will never work for this company, nor for any related company to this corporation again. This person said after that, they never put another drop of soft drink in their mouth because they are deliberately poisoning us to get us addicted to this foul stuff. You know, you can buy a soft drink container this tall, and it actually costs less than their same bottled water that's that tall? Wait, how can this much of this soft drink, which is mostly water, cost 1/3 of the price of a small bottle of just pure water? Because, well, if you think you'll be told, then you don't understand Babylon. Congress stopped the FDA. They had to go to work to stop the FDA from approving a genetically modified salmon, where they crossbred different animals in with this salmon, which now produces a salmon with these huge rippling muscles on it that grows extremely fast. And if this thing is released into the wild, it could completely destroy the natural salmon population. It's not salmon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an abomination from the pit of hell, and the FDA was pushing it through on the fast track. Why? Because the FDA is nothing but a house of prostitution for pharmaceutical corporations. Understand it. Make it very clear out there. We are living in a sick and twisted world where money has bought off any common sense or common decency. Over 2,000 years ago, the Hebrew prophet Isaiah told us exactly why we would be dropping dead like flies in the last generation. We have ignored the prophets while having our ears tickled by the peace and prosperity perversions of modern-day churchianity and the blatant lies of Babylon. Tonight, you are in for a rude awakening. And for those who really wake up, we are going to begin our journey out of Babylon this weekend. This weekend will change your life. You cannot ignore this. If you do, you will die an early death. Take a look at the person on each side of you. According to the U.S. government, both of those people will drop dead early of a heart attack. Thankfully, you weren't looking at yourself. Now, skip the person right beside you and go to the next person. That person will die of cancer before their time, according to government statistics. Heart disease was not even in American medical textbooks 100 years ago. Now it's the #1 killer in America. If you think you're going to be told by the American Medical Association or the FDA why, you don't understand Babylon. I went down to the Feast of Trumpets down in Florida, and a gentleman came up to me and knew the problems that I was having. Dr. Gary Tunsky. And he said, I want you to come back down because I can take care of this situation. And I thought, well, I'd like to. I'd like to come down and do this detoxification cleanse, 21 days. I really need to do this. But, you know, I really don't have time to do it. I mean, I've been in a wheelchair and crutches and all that, and I made it down there. I was able to make it through the weekend. I got back to Michigan. Within 3 days, I was in a wheelchair again. Dr. Tunsky called me up. I had my knee in ice up on my desk, and he said, come on down. We'll take care of everything for you. And I said, you know, I really don't have time. And then I looked at my knee in a bag of ice in excruciating pain day after day, and I thought, I don't have time. You know, I really have some priorities screwed up here because I'm putting myself in pain to an early grave. I made it down to Florida. I used crutches to get fuel in the tank. I did not sleep in a hotel. I couldn't get out of the car. I got ice. They brought it out to me at a convenience store, and I soaked my leg in ice overnight as I sat in a rest area. I made it down there, and ladies and gentlemen, in 2 weeks, I was doing over 5 miles a day on the wet, sandy beach. And every day I listened to Dr. Tunsky as he was talking with patients from around the world. People that had 4th-stage cancer 5 years before that are in prime health. People that had diabetes 3 years ago, completely off insulin, in perfect health today. I listened to this week after week, hour after hour, and I really realized the Almighty created our body to heal itself. And if we quit putting in our body what the Creator told us not to put in it, unknowingly, that the body will heal itself. If we give it what it needs, it will heal itself. Our friends are dropping dead every single day. We need not to be in that statistic. When I was down there, after the things that I learned and saw the people that was over it, I went to Walgreens. I had to pick up something, probably a razor or something. It was close to Halloween, you know, All Saints Day, Halloween. I went into Walgreens. I was paying there, and they asked me if I wanted to join the war with Walgreens against childhood diabetes. I stood there for a moment. I looked around, and I backed up, and I said, yes, I will join Walgreens in the war against childhood diabetes. I'm going to take a stand with Walgreens. I shouted it out. And then I stepped back from the counter over to the candy aisle. I stood across the candy aisle, spread eagle. I said, parents, keep your children out of this aisle. We are standing with Walgreens to end childhood diabetes. I said, parents, block the other aisle. Block the other aisle. And now there are 3 people from Walgreens that are management standing there making notes on their clipboards, and they look at me, and then they turn back real fast. They don't even want to acknowledge that I'm actually in the building. And so finally I go back up, and there are like 8 people in line at this point, okay? I mean, the place is filled with people. And so I'm putting on this whole show, and then I said, you know, I can't stay any longer right now, but if someone will take over for me, I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to continue our fight with Walgreens against childhood diabetes. We were on tour. We stopped at a health food store to pick up some things, and they were having a march to prevent suicide. You know what the #1 cause of suicide in America is today? Psychotropic drugs administered to children and adults. From sleeping pills to Prozac to all these things, it is epidemic suicide going on in America today. Psychotropic drugs is a #1 cause of suicide in America. And if you think the FDA and the drug companies are going to tell you that, then you don't understand Babylon. An overachieving cheerleader, involved in every club possible in high school, a cheerleader doing this and that, she has trouble sleeping. And so they prescribe this outgoing, vivacious, straight A student some sleeping pills. 2 weeks later, she's hung in her closet. She hangs herself because she's given sleeping pills. A 55-year-old grandfather, doing great. $1 million in the bank for retirement, doing great, can't sleep. A lot of anxiety, about to retire early. And so he goes to his doctor, gives him some sleeping pills. 3 weeks later, he takes a shotgun, kills his 2-year-old grandson, turns the gun on his daughter, shoots her, and then turns the gun on himself and blows his brains out. Ladies and gentlemen, this psychiatric pseudoscience, this is not science, it's witchcraft. Absolute witchcraft. And they're destroying and murdering people for money. Magic Johnson, 21 years ago, diagnosed with AIDS. So sad when I heard that, and now that he's passed away from AIDS. Wait. Magic Johnson doesn't have AIDS anymore. Why? Magic Johnson had the money, multi-millions of dollars. He left America and he doesn't have AIDS. I know the doctors who know exactly what he did, where he went. If you think you're going to be told how AIDS is cured, then you don't understand Babylon. And if Magic Johnson opened his mouth and said how he was cured of AIDS, Magic Johnson would find himself with a self-inflicted suicide shotgun wound from 15 feet behind him. Ladies and gentlemen, Babylon is all around us, even now in this very room. Allopathic medicine killed our first president. George Washington had strep throat, but he was diagnosed with too much blood and too little mercury. And one night his doctors drained half of the blood in his body and gave him a lethal injection of mercury because he didn't have enough mercury in his system. He was dead the next morning. If you think you're going to be told the truth, then you don't understand Babylon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out to change the world, but we are not going to change Babylon. We only have the opportunity to change you. And I went through the pain and suffering so that you don't have to go through the pain and suffering. And just before our break, I'm going to share one thing. My mother, 77 years of age, her heart was hurting her so bad, it was worse than it was before her last 2 triple bypass surgeries. And at 77 years of age, what are the chances of her actually surviving? They've already taken most of the veins out of her leg to replumb her heart twice. Triple bypass surgery twice. At our family reunion this summer, 5 people standing around, bared their chest, all of them. Triple, quadruple bypass surgery. And just a handful of relatives together. And that wasn't all of them. Why? Because the rest of them were in the grave. My mother was deeply upset because the chances of her surviving another surgery were slim. And so she came down and our whole staff got together and we did a detoxification cleanse, the same thing I went on, our entire staff. The 21 days, our whole staff together, we lost 258 pounds, which wasn't the goal. But when my mother came down, she couldn't walk a flight of stairs. Her bedroom was upstairs. She had to stop halfway. She'd have to catch her breath. She'd have to rest, and then she could make it the rest of the way up the stairs. It's either this or she's dead. 21 days later, she is walking over 2 miles a day, up and down hills. Today, she works here at A Rood Awakening, and every day she prepares an organic meal for an entire staff. Our first job outside of the house, isn't it, Mom? First time she worked outside the house, and she has a full-time job cooking for our staff here at Rood Awakening. Why? Because we want our staff to live long and to prosper. And that's why we brought you here. You know, there are very few people that are here. The room's full, but, you know, it should be thousands that should be clamoring to get here. But most people are going to die a slow, agonizing death because they will not take charge of their life. You are different, but you need help. That's why we brought pioneers here that have lived this their whole life. It can be done. And you are going to leave this weekend. And those of you who are joining us by internet and out there in cyberspace, you need to be here every single moment, as all of our speakers are going to be in on every one of these meetings. They're watching everything that goes on because it's going to continue to build, because revelation will happen. The Almighty is here among us, and He wants His people to come out of Babylon. He wants us to understand. And what we are going to do right now, during this weekend, we are going to give you really 4 opportunities to give, to share of your tithes and offerings with this ministry. Now, as we do this, we're not expecting that you should give every single time. We're just going to let you know the times we're going to give. For those of us who are on Shabbat Night Live joining us tonight, this may be the only opportunity that they have. And so we're going to take a short break for them to be able to give and to pledge their support. Because it is very expensive what we do to minister to the world every single week to the people out there on the internet around the world. And those who are being ministered to, you have a responsibility to minister back to those who are acting as Levites, who are standing in the place and ministering the word to you out there. Tomorrow night, we're going to make it available to the people that are here. And we are going to have our altar of incense, which is a replica of the, somewhat of a replica of the altar of incense, which is used in the temple. And it is to demonstrate the very fact that we here in this room are not all Levites. We are all Kohanim. We are all priests because Yeshua has made us priests and kings. And he has invited us to be his spokesman, his representative to the entire world. And what the priests were offering in the temple, the incense on the altar of incense, while the people were outside praying, well, we don't need an intercessor intermediary because we have a high priest forever who is after the order of the Melchizedek, not after the Aaronic priesthood. Yeshua is after the order of the Melchizedek, and he is the one who stands in the throne room of the Almighty and has made the path for us. He has paid the price to make us priests and kings and to be his prophets, his spokesmen to the world. And so tomorrow night when we speak about the altar, we're going to give you an opportunity to give then, and then a Sunday evening again, and then Monday evening for Yom Teruah. So we will make those 3 times available to the people that are here in the studio, and those of you who are with us on the internet, you will have the opportunity at any time during the entire weekend to be able to give as you are directed. And please pray. You know, you not only have a responsibility, we do ask that you are led by the Spirit, because we have a mission. This is a mission from the Almighty, and we're reaching out to the world. So we're going to take a break right now for just a few moments to allow people out there in the world to be able to stand with us. Thank you. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, Torah fans, and welcome to the next portion of this teaching. I wanted to say that Dr. Albert Schweitzer was healed of diabetes. According to the medical profession, nobody gets healed of diabetes. Dr. Albert Schweitzer admitted he was healed of diabetes. His wife was healed of tuberculosis by a German naturopathic physician, Dr. Max Gerson, which Dr. Albert Schweitzer said was one of the most eminent geniuses in the medical profession. In 1946, after fleeing Germany, Dr. Gerson testified before Congress in the United States for 3 days, giving the scientific evidence that he had the cure for cancer. At the end of that period of time, ABC Radio announced to the entire nation, the cure for cancer has been found. Within days, the announcer for ABC, who had been for over 20 years an anchor on ABC, lost his job because of the threats from the mobsters with the AMA and the FDA. The drug cartels run by the Rockefeller and IG Farben in Germany, who supplied the Zyklon B gas to exterminate the Jews, shut down Dr. Gerson in Germany, and then they assassinated him with arsenic in the United States. His case studies that were presented to the U.S. Congress were stolen, and his daughter then fled to Mexico, where since then, thousands have been healed from cancer, diabetes, tuberculosis, and heart disease at the Gerson Clinic. But you have to leave America in order to get the help. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now the official volunteer spokesman for the American Cancer Society. And as you see, up there, I hope you see, as you see, the American Cancer Society, and I am the one that develops the new slogans as a volunteer, official spokesman. American Cancer Society, promising a cure just around the corner since 1952. That's my new slogan. I hope this is going to catch on. Promising a cure just around the corner since 1952. The American Cancer Society is the richest non-profit in the world. Anyone ask you to give the American Cancer Society, tell them no thank you. You people are nothing but a joke. It was founded by the Rockefellers, Standard Oil, who then funded and built all of the training centers of the hospitals to push allopathic medicine, to push drugs and surgery. The American Cancer Society funnels billions of dollars every year into pharmaceutical corporations owned by Rockefeller subsidiaries. As George Bush said as president, you can fool some of the people all the time. These are the ones you want to concentrate on. A wise saying by George W. You can fool some of the people all the time. These are the ones you want to concentrate on. See, that's why it's a very small group that's here and watching worldwide, because most of the people are completely fooled. And they're not going to do anything about this. They're just going to die in Babylon. But as Yeshua said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And that's in every area. You see, the Almighty has given us revelation, and we are going to then see. See, Yeshua is not just the Messiah. There's nothing you can do about that. He is the Messiah, period. But what Moses prophesied with great deliberateness is the prophet, like unto Moses, that we must shema, we must hear and obey. And if we do not, then it will be diligently sought out, and he will make an inspection, and we will be judged accordingly. Yeshua was the prophet. He was the one that came and made the difference between man-made religion and the commandments of the Almighty. And if we understand that the Almighty told us what to put in this body and what not to put in this body, and then understand that that has been completely grayed by Babylon, to where there's no longer any black and white, then you'll start understanding why we are dying at such a young age and being tortured with such ravaging diseases. According to the FDA, only inorganic, patentable chemicals created in a pharmaceutical laboratory can be used to cure, treat, or prevent disease. They have legally defined the word cure. The only way that someone can be cured of cancer is by cutting out tumors that the Almighty designed the body to create to surround cancer cells that everyone has. Everyone has cancer. You morons out there in the FDA, everybody has cancer. We have mutant cells. There's only one way to heal cancer. The immune system recognizes it and kills it. If it has gone too far, the body will then make an intelligent cocoon around it. If you cut it out, you haven't cured cancer, you've removed a tumor. When a doctor discovers you have a tumor, you've already had cancer 6 to 10 years. But you have to have an immediate operation the next day or you're going to die. Oh yeah? I remember a few years ago, a woman had a 300-pound tumor that was removed. 300-pound tumor. That's bigger than a small block Chevrolet engine. It took a crane to remove that tumor. She didn't die from a tumor, but you're going to die tomorrow if you don't get that tumor removed. Yeah, right. Because only surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation can be used to cure cancer. And if you use surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, you will not be cured of cancer. There's no way, because you have cancer. And unless you reinforce your body to recognize it and destroy it, then most people overcome cancer over and over and over in their life, many times over, because their body is strong enough. But you weaken it, and you start putting in it what the Almighty said don't put in it, and there's no way. You will not recover. Now, cancer has a very unique thing. Definition. The cure for cancer has been defined by the AMA and the FDA. From when they detect the cancer and you undergo immediate treatment, if you survive 5 years, you've been cured of cancer. Now, if you die the next day, you still have been cured of cancer. You just died of cancer. That's the legal definition of the cure for cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody gets cured of cancer, but you can be healed. People are healed all the time because the Creator is who heals, and He created a body to heal itself. So, when the FDA tells you what can be used to cure cancer, it's all what the Bible calls pharmakia. And so now, I'm going to show you tonight a little bit about pharmakia. Because according to the FDA definition, there will never be a cure for cancer. That's why the American Cancer Society keeps on raking the money in, and they're the richest nonprofit on the planet. So, if you cure cancer, you cure billions of dollars, and there's no way that they're going to cure billions of dollars. But you can be healed. If a doctor in America suggests anything other than radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery, he can lose his license and he can go to prison. That is the system in America. That's it. That's why they can't tell you the truth. That's why American oncologists refuse their own treatment and they leave America to get healed of cancer in other countries. They will not allow their own families to go through the American medical system. They get in a plane, they fly them out of America where they get healed. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to leave America. Pharmakia. Pharmakia. Side effects of pharmakia include cancer, autism, sterility, fibromyalgia, memory loss, blindness, hair loss, obesity, diabetes, general sickness, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if pharmakia is right for you. Pharmakia is officially certified as safe and effective by the FDA, which should tell you something. It's a house of prostitution for money-making murderers. And I can't say it strong enough. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to go into coming out of Babylon. In order to do that, we have to go into the conspiracy. I'm going to keep you a little bit later tonight. We'll make sure that you got transportation back to where you need to go. We may, for you here, may need to run a few shuttles back and forth, but, you know, let's stay a little bit longer than what they want the shuttles to run to the hotels, okay? I'll take care of you. I'll give you a ride on my bicycle. We're going to talk about conspiracy tonight. Conspiracy. For a lot of people, it's a bad word, conspiracy theories. Well, we're going to go to the scripture because it tells us in Psalm 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth take their rebellious stand together with the rulers of this earth. They conspire against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder, let us cast their cords from us. Now when it says they conspired against Yahovah and against his Mashiach, they will not be restrained by the words of the prophet that we must obey. They will not be withheld back by the bonds of the commandments of the Almighty. They are in this life for one thing, to die with the most toys, and they think they win. Well, there's a judgment day, and they may be trying to convince the populace in America that there is no God, there's no judgment day, and that there really is no Constitution, there's no America, because America was founded upon the principle that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, in that they are endowed by their Creator with absolute inalienable rights, God-given rights, that no king, no pope, no religious or civil right tyrant has a right to take away from the people. But what is happening in this country is that people are saying there is no God. If there is no God, there are no God-given rights, and therefore we will be in complete tyranny. This will be a complete police state in America. It will be so. There's no way out of it, people. It's gone. We've got a Muslim who will bow. Oh, he says he's a Christian, but yet he goes to the Blue Mosque, takes his shoes off, gets down on his face and prays to Allah. You tell me that's a Christian? That kind of Christian could go right straight to hell. That's not a Christian. That's not a follower of the Messiah. That's a Muslim. That's a worshiper of a fictitious moon god and a sick, twisted prophet with epileptic fits. Make a movie about that and release that in Libya. The President of the United States is who's caused all this. It's not somebody making a movie in America. It's a man who would bow in front of Muslim kings. That's who's caused this. You call that a Christian? Every Christian should cash in their Christian chip if that's a Christian. Whatever it is, if that is what a Christian is, I'm out of here. Bowing to a Muslim moon god in the Blue Mosque. Wake up, people. I don't know how long they're going to let us on the internet with this kind of stuff, Ted. They conspire against Yahovah. You want to know why I changed the way I pronounce it? When I've got thousands of hours of video out there, is because I decided, after years of not listening to what Nehemiah had to say, I decided I'm going to listen. I'm going to see, I'm going to look at the evidence. And yet there are people who won't look at the evidence, they won't listen to me because I pronounce it differently now. Well, go ahead, leave. I don't care. I have to do what my conscience leads me to do. And so, if I have to redo videos, I have to redo videos. There we go. Their conspiracy. There's a conspiracy. And they are conspiring together against the Almighty, against His anointed. And when they conspire against them, those who follow Him are conspired against. Evil people can't accomplish anything if they don't conspire together. He that sits in the heavens is going to laugh. Adonai shall have them in absolute derision. Then He shall vex them in His wrath, and vex them in His sore displeasure. I have set my King upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree Yahweh has said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. He says, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for your inheritance. Thou shalt dash them in pieces with a rod of iron. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron and dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise, O ye kings, you hot-shot rulers of the earth who think you're going to get away with it. Serve Yahweh with fear. Rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son. You better make up to Him now, because the Son sits on the judgment seat and you will answer to Him. Because if you don't, you are going to perish when His wrath is kindled but a little. But blessed are all those who put their trust in Him. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a conspiracy, and because there are conspiracies, there are conspiracy theories. Because we don't see what these cretins are doing behind the scenes. We don't see what the FDA is doing until we see the end result, where they keep on denying it, with one person after another in testifying what happened when they took these drugs, and these normal people then put a gun to their head and pulled the trigger and were unsuccessful at killing themselves, but only damaged themselves for the rest of their lives. And yet the FDA says, we don't see any evidence. Yeah. We don't see all what they're doing behind the scenes until it comes out, but enough evidence has come out, and we're going to give you and present before you the DVD so that you can see what these people are doing. You need to understand it. We need to understand Babylon. Where and when did the conspiracy begin? Let's take our Bibles and we're going to go back and we're going to rewind and go all the way back to the flood. Back to Noah's Ark, and wherein 8 souls were saved. And on the other side of the flood, here we see one of the greatest evidences of the flood that's left in America, Grand Canyon. They've been trying to tell us, the evolutionists, that the Colorado River carved the Grand Canyon after millions and millions of years of erosion. Well, the fact of the matter is, the Colorado River starts at one level, the Grand Canyon is up here. The Colorado River would have to flow uphill hundreds of miles to begin eroding the Grand Canyon. What you're looking at is a spillway from a huge ancient lake which was formed immediately after the flood. When everything was soft, the spillway broke and outpoured what now, it remains of that, is the Colorado River down at the bottom of it. But here it is, the rainbow, the promise of the Almighty that He would never send a flood to destroy things again. The next time it's going to be done with fire. It's going to be much more thorough. So get ready. Of this they are willingly ignorant. By His word, Yahweh created the world, which was flooded with water, and it then perished. Willingly ignorant means stupid on purpose. And there are plenty of scientists out there that are stupid on purpose. As a matter of fact, you can't get anything on the Discovery Channel unless you're stupid on purpose. National Geographic, you've got to be an idiot on purpose to get your stuff on there, because you got to keep with the party line. The earth is millions and millions and millions of years old. I guess we missed By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his household. Here is a gentleman investigating the 1800 BC Epic of Gilgamesh, which talks about a worldwide flood in which just one family was saved. The Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest record going back 1800 BC into Mesopotamia. According to this record, there was a worldwide flood. And so the scientists found seashells on the top of the highest mountains in Iran. They are then using carbon-14 dating and finding out that these seashells on the top of these mountains in Iran are about 5,000 years old. How do seashells get on top of the highest mountains of Iran? Billions and billions and billions of years ago, Carl Sagan came in on a spaceship and planted them there. Epic of Gilgamesh is just a version of the real thing that happened, which we read about in the scripture. And it tells us in Genesis 9, the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. Why does it tell us that? Because of what's about to happen. That the youngest son of Ham is named Canaan. The youngest son of Ham, his name is Canaan. And it says, when Noah woke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him, he said, cursed be Canaan. When he found out what Ham's younger son had done. It is not Noah's younger son. Ham is not Noah's younger son. But Canaan is Ham's younger son. And when he saw what Canaan, Ham's younger son, did to him, he said, cursed be Canaan. And we're going to find out what happens to the lineage of Canaan, because they end up in the land of Israel. The Almighty sends fire and brimstone down upon those cities because of the sick sexual perversion that is going on still in the land that's promised to the sons of Abraham. So now we see in Genesis 10, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. We're going to find out in the 10th chapter later on that Japheth is actually the eldest of these three sons. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, it's actually in the reverse order. Shem is the youngest, Ham is the middle, and Japheth is the elder. And these are the generations, or offspring after the flood. If you do not understand Genesis 10, you cannot understand civilization on planet Earth. No, the cradle of civilization was not ape men coming out of Africa. That's on the Discovery Channel. Watch their representation of the Bible on the Discovery Channel and National Geographic. Watch it. You know something about the Bible. You watch their presentations of the Bible, you realize these people are complete morons. Oh yeah, they've got their doctorate degrees. No, they're not morons. These people are idiots. They have got their religion that they're defending, but they know nothing about the Bible. They make up stories. And when you watch this, you realize these people are on the air and they're clueless. Now, how about the things you don't know anything about? You can only assume that you're being lied to just as much. So, these are the sons of Japheth. It's going to tell us Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphah, Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Dodanim. These are the sons of Japheth. And by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. Now let me ask you something. After the flood, are we not all speaking the same language? So this is taking us ahead in time because we are being set up to understand civilization on planet Earth. We are going to see that these people then were divided and spread out into these different isles. Now we continue on. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan. And the sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and so on, the sons of Ramah. And then it says, and Cush begat Nimrod, who began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahovah, or in the face of Yahovah. Wherefore it is said, even Nimrod, the mighty hunter before or in the face of Yahovah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. That was the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom. Again, we're being set up to understand what's happening in the next chapter. And so then, and out of that land, out of Shinar, went forth Asher. Who's Asher? We haven't heard the name Asher. Out of that land. Out of that land where? That Nimrod built his kingdom. Out of that land will go forth Asher. Who's Asher? Well, we have to hit the fast forward button here to bring us up into verse 22. And the children of Shem, of whom Abraham is going to come out of, are Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. So Asher is one of the sons of Shem who is going to come out of the kingdom of Nimrod, out of Babylon. Watch how it develops, ladies and gentlemen. We have to hit the rewind button and get back to where we were. And he built Nineveh. Who built Nineveh? Asher, one of the sons of Shem, built Nineveh. Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin, which is between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city. Now we begin to understand Jonah, who is going to be sent to Nineveh, which is built by the sons of Shem. These are not Israelites, but yet they're going to be told to repent. These Gentiles are going to be told to repent and come out of Babylon and come to the worship of the true God. We've got Messianic congregations out there saying, oh, it's okay for the Gentiles to do their Christmas and Easter, their sun god worship stuff, because the Torah is just for Jews. You know, obeying God's commandments, that's really for Jews, and you people are not really quite up to our standard. You are like associate members of the body of Messiah. You can't be really full members of our congregation, full members of the body, because you know, Jews are on a higher level and you're just Gentiles. You keep doing Christmas and all that. You keep doing your pagan stuff. I'll tell you, those are false prophets. Those are people that are sick, twisted individuals. And the Messianic movement is full of these kind of, may I say, dweebs. Higher level? Oh, yeah, right. I don't care if you're a pygmy headhunter from the tribe of Zulu. In Messiah, you are just as close to the Almighty as if you're from King David's bloodline. There is no difference. Jonah was sent to these Gentiles to tell them to repent. And that is what we are doing. We're calling the world to repentance. Come to the worship of the true God. So, Asher is responsible for this. And then we read about Mitzrayim, begat Ludim, etc. Mitzrayim, that's Egypt. And then it says that Canaan begat Zidon and his firstborn, who is his firstborn, and Het, and the Jebusite, the Amorite, the Girgasite, the Hivite, the Arkite, the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. And then it's going to tell us that afterward, the families of the Canaanites were spread about. Afterward, what? See, we have to see the whole context, because we're going to be told about the Tower of Babel. After the Tower of Babel is when the languages are confused and they were spread abroad. And then it says the border of the Canaanites were from Zidon, as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. Episode number 1, a rude awakening, what Chaim and I feel by ourselves out in the desert to begin leading you out of Babylon 15 years ago. I'm telling you the same story, it just gets deeper all the time. Why? Because the Word is living and real and richer, and as we obey, we will be given more truth. You will only get as much truth as you will obey. And at the point where you quit obeying, you will get no more truth. You will be ever learning and never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. That's why religion is a dead end. Yeshua delivered us from religion and asked us to walk by the Spirit. That's why Israel followed the Spirit. The Spirit stopped, they set up camp, and then the Spirit picked up and moved. Those who wanted to keep their own denomination could stay behind, build a church, put a cross on it, make their denomination right there, quit following the Spirit. And that's what every denomination has done in America, and every Christian denomination has done. They set up camp, they put their stake, they put their cross on the ground and said, this is what we believe, and the Spirit kept on moving. And the Spirit is picking up and moving away on past the Messianic movement. Because the Messianic movement will not obey Yeshua. He said, do not follow the Takanot and the Masim of the Pharisees, because they say they follow Moses, but they don't do what Moses said to do. They want to follow rabbinic tradition, where rabbinic tradition or Takanot denies the Torah. They add to, they subtract from. Yeshua said, don't do it, follow me. I will live in you, and you will do greater works than I do. And no, you're not going to be sitting in a pew week after week doing the same old thing. You're going to shake up the world. That's why this ministry keeps changing all the time. Why? Because the Spirit keeps leading us into more truth. We invite you to be part of it. Let's keep moving. And now we see what Canaan comes into the land, and the Almighty destroys Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. By the time you have a city or a sin named after your city, you got a pretty sick culture going on. Sodomy, that's homosexuality. It's an abomination to the Almighty. And yet we have Christian denominations that are ordaining homosexuals and lesbians. It's an abomination. Does God love homosexuals and lesbians? Yes. And he says, knock it off. Sex with animals, men with men, women with women is an abomination. And I know Obama is now, okay, queers can get married. Okay? Next, it's going to be men with sheep, because that's what Muslims do. My neighbor in Israel had to fire Muslims working for them because they were having sex with their sheep. People, let's get real. Let's get real. Let's call a sick, twisted abomination a sick, twisted abomination. If they want to get married, that's fine. I don't care. Somebody's got to go to hell. Might as well be them. The purpose of eternal life is to know Yah and to know the Messiah whom He has sent. Do you think those who on this earth don't want to know Him are going to enjoy all of eternity, get them to know Him? They would be out of place. They need to be with the rest of their kind, groping for eternity. See, people are delivered all the time. They get delivered of the demons. We've got people that are watching tonight who were trapped in a demon-possessed body, homosexuals, lesbians, who are now delivered to this day. And I love them. I love them. I have ministered to homosexual men and women that have been delivered, and I love them. And I won't tell you their names. Why? Because a lot of people will just, you won't be able to forget it. You won't be able to see through it. But I love them. I'm thankful for them. The Almighty loves them. See, we're all covenant breakers. We're all commandment breakers. A philandering adulterer. What makes that person better than a homosexual? Nothing. It's an abomination. It's wrong. Well, ladies and gentlemen, oh, we got so many fun things to do tonight. These are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. And then it says, unto Shem also, the father of the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder. Ah, didn't I tell you? Japheth is the elder. See, you have to read into it. You got to go ahead. And then you can see how it all fits together. See, it's one book. It's one story from Genesis 1:1 to Revelation 22:21. It's one seamless thread. The only problem in our modern Bibles is that they put a page in there between Malachi and the book of Matthew. That's the only problem. I would tear that page out of my Bible, but I put so many, I use it for making notes. But, you know, it doesn't belong there. The last verses of Malachi are being fulfilled in the next page. It's one seamless book. The only place Old Testament appears in the Bible or New Testament appears in the New Testament is as a translation error. There's no such thing. There's an older covenant and there is a renewing of the covenant, but Old Testament and New Testament only appears as a mistranslation. When Yeshua said, this is a New Testament in my blood, King James, no, he's talking about exactly what the prophet spoke of, Jeremiah, the renewed covenant. We have to understand the first covenant, the older covenant as it was given, to understand that we broke it and we incurred the death penalty. And the only way the death penalty can be paid is by the death of the offending party. Unless someone who never breaks the covenant dies in the place of the guilty party, and then he can renew the covenant with the former guilty party because the death penalty has been paid. And then the covenant can be renewed. We are offered to be priests and kings at Mount Sinai. In Revelation 1:5 it says, and Yeshua has made us priests and kings. He's renewed the covenant with us. Now, the father of the children, Shem was the father of the children of Eber. Who's the children of Eber? Who in the world are we talking about here? Well, we have to fast forward into the 2 chapters. We jump ahead. Genesis 11. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber. Hebrew. Salah lived and begat Eber 403 years, begat sons and daughters, and Eber lived 430 years and begat Peleg. Very important, Eber, and then what? Peleg. Now we're going to go back, rewind, and hit it. And so we see that the children of Shem, right down here at the bottom, is Salah begat Eber. Eber then what? He begat, unto him were 2 sons born. The name of one was Peleg, for in his day was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Joktan. Beautiful. We actually have the number of years through Shem's line until Peleg, when the Tower of Babel happened and the earth was divided into the different nations and the different tongues. It's not talking about the landmass being divided. It's talking about the Tower of Babel. We have to keep it all in context. 9, 10, and 11, it's all one story, people. And it happens less than 300 years after the flood. Now we go on from here. And we're not going to read all this because now we've got the lineage of Shem that is going on down. And then verse 31, these are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. And now we have, these are the sons of Noah, the families of the sons of Noah, after the generations, in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. And so now we're going to go. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, and this will be our last example that we're able to hit for this evening. The whole earth was of one language and one speech. It came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar. And they dwelt there, and they said to one another, go to. Now, when they said go to, it doesn't mean the same thing as when we hear people tell us to go to. Go to means to come now, come now. Actually, we're going to see the beginning of a conspiracy. Come now, let's gather together, come now. Let us make brick. Let's burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. See, you can make brick very fast. You burn it with fire, and you can make it real fast. You don't have to let it dry in the sun. And so they are building fast, and they are building hard. They're not hewing out stone. They're building this by brick as fast as they can. And so we have to see, what is their conspiracy? What are they conspiring together to do? They said, come now, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach till heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered upon the face of the earth. And so this is the beginning, a city for economic control. We have a tower for religious control. Everyone's going to worship the same thing. It's going to end up being Nimrod. And then we have a name for political control. Everyone is gathered together at Babel, and this is the beginning of what will come in the future, the Novus Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order. You notice those words on the back of your dollar bill, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the New World Order. And this is why you have the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati at the top of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. And this is signifying that basically we went into receivership to the international bankers at the time of President Roosevelt, and the United States have been in bankruptcy since then. You'll notice that all of your birth certificates are now on bank notes. Why? Every person in America, you are pledged, your future earnings are pledged to the international bankers. That's why the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System is not an American operation. It is based in Puerto Rico. Why will Puerto Rico never be a state of the United States? Because the Federal Reserve System is based there. And they are not an American institution. They are international bankers who have the United States under receivership. And so every child born in America, his birth certificate is on a banknote. That's why we do not have Obama's birth certificate. We have a certificate of live birth, but not a birth certificate, because birth certificates are on banknotes, because you are pledged for the security of your future earnings to the international bankers, because the United States is in debt more than what they can possibly pay. Back in Babylon, the beginning of the New World Order. Less than 300 years after the flood, this is what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, when evil men conspire together, they can make evil happen in a short amount of time. That's why from a constitutional republic based on God-given rights, we have now entered into a slave state in the United States of America. That's why we're now being told there is no God. Through the American Department of Re-Education in Washington, D.C. And that's what it is, a Department of Re-Education. Total godless socialism. That is what Obama was bred and raised and groomed and educated to bring to America, is godless totalitarian socialism. We got exactly what we deserve. And we are going to find ourselves fighting this thing to the end. But we are Hanukkah warriors. We are going to fight this thing. But we can't do it in weak bodies and weak minds. We've got to do it strengthening ourselves. We've got to come out of Babylon ourselves, because when we do, then we are going to then be led by the Spirit. Because Yahovah came down, he saw the city, the tower that the children of men built. Yahovah said, behold, the people are one. They've one language. and what they've begun to do, nothing can be restrained from them. There is no amount of evil that these people will be restrained from. Anything they imagine, they can accomplish. We're going to have to do something. So he said, go to. And when he said go to, he meant it. Go to. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahweh scattered them abroad upon the face of the earth, and they all left off to build the city. They left off to build the city, but they did not stop. Pagan sun god worship at that point was spread throughout the entire earth. And that is why every pagan sun god, his birthday is December 25th, which on the ancient Babylonian calendar was the winter solstice before the precession of the equinoxes. The worship of the sun god, Nimrod, who died, was killed, and according to his wife Semiramis, ascended up into heaven, has become the sun god. And the winter solstice, the time of the day in the winter, the shortest day of the year, is the rebirth of the sun. And that's why all the pagan sun gods, even though the names have changed, yet they all have the same birthday. Why? Because it was all in place before the Tower of Babel. There's only one way to explain it. Why is it that the major constellations, the major stars in the heavens, you ask in every major language group, in China, in Japan, in Arabic, in Hebrew, in Latin, in Greek, the names of these stars all mean the same thing. How can that possibly be? It's because the names were known before the confusion of languages. So, the star Hamelech, in Latin, Regulus, in China, maybe Ching Chong Wing Hua, but it all means the king, because the Almighty is the one that named the stars, and they were known before the Tower of Babel. See, unless we understand Genesis, we can't understand civilization in the way it is today. The people groups that we have that are spread all over the earth. See, we were confused. The languages were confused at Babel in order to destroy Nimrod's one world government. And as it says in the scripture, well, I'm going to show you something. Here is a poster. Europe, many tongues, one voice. Take a look at this image here. This is a modern poster for the European Union. You notice the stars in the circle around the bottom here, under Europe, many tongues, one voice. But what is this building that they're building? It's the Tower of Babel. Now I'm going to show you an ancient artistic representation of the Tower of Babel. Do you recognize that? Let's go back. European Union. Now, look at this. Now, watch this develop. Watch it. This is the European Parliament, built to look like the unfinished Tower of Babel. I was there to take the pictures of this thing because they are rebuilding Babel. This is a statement of the New World Order. Many nations, one voice, and English is now the language of Babel. There will be more Chinese speaking English in China in 5 years than speak English in the rest of the world. English is a new language of Babylon. And we've got an opportunity to get to the world now. See, we can use Babylon, but we can't be contaminated by Babylon. Therefore, the name of this place is called Babel because Jehovah did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence Jehovah scattered them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Now he divided them up less than 300 years after the Tower of Babel. That's when it happens. The stars and the gods all have different names, but they all mean the same thing. The birth dates are all the same. The pagan worship is all the same. And unfortunately, all of the accoutrements of Babylonian sun worship are fully embedded in American Gentile churchianity. Every detail is still there to this very day. And we are told to come out of Babylon. And so, now, here's this verse. Memorize it. When the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, he separated the sons of Adam. When he did that, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. One of the most profound prophetic statements that is made in the Scripture. He divided the nations up according to the yet unborn sons of Israel, because he knew he was going to choose a people to be his representatives to the entire planet. They would be his ambassadors. They would be his priest. They would be his prophet. And we have been tasked with the fulfillment of that very mission. The death penalty for the broken covenant has been paid. We have been reconciled with the Most High. We have been filled with his Spirit, and he wants to lead us into leading the world out of Babylon. That's what he is in you for. You will never be satisfied in your life until you allow him to work in you to know and to do his good pleasure. And when you do, it will change your life. It will change the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, the prophet Isaiah told us why in the last days we would be dropping dead like flies. Our children would be dropping dead. And tomorrow night, I'm going to take you into the rest of this conspiracy, because we need to understand the seriousness of this. And for the next 3 days, we are going to be on our journey of coming out of Babylon. I can't encourage you enough at this point, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who are out on the internet, hopefully we'll have enough. I don't know, we've got cases of these things, but these are going to go fast. The first place you can get it, no, you can't get it on Amazon. You can't get it anyplace else. This, I tell you, I was brought to tears over and over and over. This is a piece of revelation. This is breakthrough revelation for this day and time. And I have seen the result of this already. Ladies and gentlemen, not Argentina, but Peru, praying, speaking the Aaronic blessing over a group of thousands of people and seeing people instantaneously, miraculously healed, speaking the name in the Aaronic blessing. Nehemiah is going to take you into some of this stuff. It's going to change your life. We're going to close for this evening, and I would like to close with prayer for all of us here, for all of you around the world. Yivarechacha Yehovah vayishmerecha. Yair Yehovah panavelecha v'chunaka. Yisa Yehovah panavelecha v'yisem lecha shalom. Yehovah bless you and keep you. Yehovah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of Yeshua, the Prince of Peace, the Prophet, the King. Amen. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Have a good night. Join us again tomorrow morning. We're going to be going live tomorrow at what time, Ted? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow here. We're going to start early. We're going to be doing things that we can't put on the internet. Only people get to see it here, but we'll be back tomorrow. Join us then. Good night. Shabbat Shalom to our fans. Good night. so.